Chapter 42. Before the blood mist had even dissipated, Vice Principal Yuhua had already teleported to Enlin's side. He waved his sleeve, and the blood mist dissipated. Then, they saw a man standing there like a man made of blood. Holy F***ck, with these injuries, he's not dead, is he? Vice Principal Yuhua was slightly taken aback. Then, he took out a spirit pill without hesitation and placed it into Enlin's mouth. At the same time, he unleashed an extremely powerful healing immortal technique to treat Enlin's internal injuries. Dioscorea Cancongensis also hurried over and asked anxiously, "Principal, how is student Enlin?" Enlin's self-destruction had given him quite a fright. Now that he saw Enlin covered in blood, he began to worry even more. All the blood essence in his body has dissipated, and his physical body should have been completely shattered. However, a mysterious power has preserved his body. Even so, his current condition is very bad. I'm going to move him into the soul-locking ice coffin, Yuhua said with a grave expression. Dioscorea Cancongensis was shocked to hear this. The soul-locking ice coffin was an immortal tool that was used to prevent one's consciousness from dissipating. This was already the ultimate life-saving measure in the school. Who would have thought that Enlin's injuries would be so severe? "Principal, let me go with you." Song Qing was very worried about Enlin and made a request. "Sir Principal, I want to go with you, woof." Dabai also ran over and looked worriedly at Enlin, who had become a man made of blood, as he spoke to Celestial Immortal Yuhua. Yuhua nodded. "All right, come with me. It'll be more convenient for you to take care of student Enlin." After saying this, Vice Principal Yuhua transformed into a streak of light and charged out of the spell formation with Enlin in tow. Dioscorea Cancongensis and Dabai followed closely behind him. On the white jade square, the students were in an uproar when they saw this sudden scene. Oh my god, why did Enlin suddenly explode? Could it be the aftereffect of that move? If that's really the case, I feel like that move is a move that kills 100 enemies, but damages himself 10,000. With such injuries, can he still live? Since Vice Principal Yuhua is here, Enlin should be fine. Just as the students were discussing spiritedly, a girl suddenly stood up and ran out of the square. Her injuries hadn't healed yet. Now that she was running violently, her wounds split open again, staining her Taoist robe red. The graceful figure did not care, and just rushed out of the healing array formation on the square, and ran into the distance. "Su Xiaolan, I'll go with you." A voice suddenly came from behind her. Su Xiaolan raised her fair and flawless face and saw Xianyuan Qing flying over on his sword. "Is your injury all right?" Su Xiaolan asked. "It's just a minor injury. If something happens to a student in our class, we can't just ignore it. Let's go, the medical center is quite far from here. I'll take you there on my sword." Xianyuan Qing smiled warmly. "Thank you for your trouble, class monitor." Su Xiaolan was also very worried about Enlin's current condition, so she nodded and agreed without hesitation. The sharp sword carried Xianyuan Qing and Su Xiaolan into the sky again, transforming into a streak of light as it flew toward the medical center. In the forest of 1,000 peaks, the boundary had already shrunk to a radius of 5 kilometers. The powerful cultivators of the Immortal Rankings Board had all started their final battles. The Tao Body Stage students were quickly defeated by the Spirit Nurturing Stage students. The Tao Body Stage students were eliminated one after another. In the end, this place had completely become a battlefield for cultivators of the Spirit Nurturing Stage. In this final battle, the most dazzling two were Lu Qianhuan and Yang Qingwu. Lu Qianhuan's vital energy was extremely abundant, and she unleashed all kinds of strange immortal spells, defeating several powerful cultivators of the Spirit Nurturing Stage in a row. Yang Qingwu's sword techniques were unparalleled, and no one dared to face him head-on. He also became more and more courageous as the battle progressed, and his aura had already accumulated to its peak. Just as he thought that he was about to enter the final battle with Lu Qianhuan, an unexpected opponent appeared. She was Su Qianyun, who had always kept a low profile among the new students. Yang Chengwu was stunned by her beauty as soon as he saw her. As expected of the number one goddess of the school, she was almost comparable to the one from the Moon Palace. Ordinary cultivators might feel unsettled when they saw Su Qianyun, but not Yang Chengwu. He was only loyal to his sword, and he didn't have much interest in anything other than his sword. A cultivator of the spirit-nurturing final stage versus a cultivator of the spirit-nurturing initial stage. There was no suspense in this battle. Yang Chengwu was brimming with confidence as he battled Su Qianyun. Then, one of his hands was chopped off. Yang Chengwu clutched his arm in agony. "What kind of weapon is that?" he exclaimed in shock. A semi-transparent blue moon was revolving joyfully around Su Qianyun, and it appeared to be extremely agile and lively. "Immortal tool, moonlight disk," Su Qianyun said lightly. Yang Chengwu's eyes widened in shock. "Holy F***ck, an immortal tool? In the kingdom of the 9 states, immortal tools were the ultimate treasures of first-rate sections. And this young girl actually had one in her possession? Yang Chengwu had been the victim of this moonlight disk. He didn't expect for the moonlight disk's flight path to be so unpredictable. It moved as if it was teleporting, appearing before him in the blink of an eye and chopping off his arm. Su Qianyun knew that an immortal tool could only unleash its full power in the hands of a return-to-void stage celestial immortal. In her hands, it could only unleash a small portion of its power. It could be said that it was a huge waste. However, she had no choice. Big Sister Chang-yi loved her so much that she forced the moonlight disk into her hands. If Yang Chengwu found out how she had obtained this weapon, would he vomit blood in anger? Yang Chengwu had suffered a loss due to his carelessness, but he quickly calmed down and launched another attack on Su Qianyun. Although an immortal tool was powerful, there was still a way to deal with it in the face of a massive cultivation base gap. After a series of intense battles, Yang Chengwu finally secured the final victory. The cultivator with power had finally defeated the cultivator with krypton metal. Tears of excitement welled up in Yang Chengwu's eyes as he looked at the golden barrier before him. He gripped his broken sword tightly as he walked toward the final battlefield. Just like that, Lu Qianhuan saw Yang Chengwu, who was riddled with wounds. Not only was his weapon broken, but even one of his arms had been severed. There were also many wounds on his body, and his aura was extremely weak. Lu Qianhuan's cherry lips parted slightly, and a look of surprise blossomed in her jewel-like purple eyes. "Collecting heads and whatnot, I love it the most!" Lu Qianhuan yelled out a chunibu before unleashing a final spark. Boom! The 6-feathered staff rotated in the air, and a beam of energy shot forth like a laser cannon, instantly piercing through Yang Chengwu's body. Yang Chengwu, dead? No, a golden barrier had already appeared on his body, teleporting him out of the spell formation along with his severed arm. Presumably, his arm could still be salvaged. After defeating Yang Chengwu, Lu Qianhuan's expression didn't relax much. This was because there was still one person who hadn't arrived. The number 1 on the Immortal Rankings board, Wang Xuanzhan. So annoying. Even if I use that secret technique, I feel like I only have a 20% chance of winning. Lu Qianhuan had a distressed expression. She became even more distressed when she thought about how painful it would be to be defeated. Just as she was waiting, the flying sword god suddenly appeared before her. "Congratulations, student Lu Qianhuan. You are the last student in the Forest of 1,000 Peaks, with the exception of Chun Chun. You will receive a special reward from our academy. Now, follow me out of the spell formation," the flying sword god said with a warm smile. I'm already the last student? Then what about Wang Xuanzhan?" Lu Qianhuan asked in surprise. Wang Xuanzhan has already been defeated by Enlin. However, Enlin was also severely injured and has already been teleported outside, the flying sword god explained patiently. Lu Qianhuan was even more astonished now. Her beautiful purple eyes widened. What? Wang Xuanzhan was defeated by Enlin? Sigh. Enlin has become so strong. Then how am I supposed to use force to force him to play games with me in the future? The flying sword god grimaced upon hearing this. Shouldn't she be complaining about how Enlin had become so strong? Why was she thinking about games instead? Sure enough, the rumors in the outside world were right. This internet addict girl's imagination was extremely strange. The flying sword god made a decision in his heart, and that was to protect Enlin no matter what. He couldn't allow this internet addict girl to harm him. Chapter 43. It was chaos, as if he was in endless darkness. Thump, 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 thump. Enlin heard a voice that seemed to come from his soul, and he struggled to open his eyes. Then, he saw a body that was as white as jade, naked from head to toe, rabbit. This rabbit was at least half the height of a person, and it was kneeling on the ground. It held a jade pestle in its hand, and it constantly smashed down on a small basin that was emitting a golden glaze. Thump, 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 thump. The fragrance of medicine filled the entire room, and Enlin felt comfortable all over after taking a whiff. Ah! He unconsciously let out a low cry. Hearing the sound, the rabbit turned its head, and a pair of round pink eyes blinked at Enlin. You're awake? A very crisp and pleasant voice came from the rabbit's mouth. May I ask where this place is? Enlin nodded in response. His head still hurt a little, so he used his hands to slightly pinch his temples. The rabbit jumped in front of Enlin and said, What's 9,695 times 874? Enlin was startled when he heard this and said blankly, Let me calculate. 3 seconds later, an extremely disappointed voice was heard. What, so you're awake, but your brain hasn't recovered? Let me recuperate a little more. Enlin looked up and saw a jade pestle, like a club, directly smashing toward his head. Thump! Enlin's eyes rolled back, and he fell into a coma. Thump, 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 thump. In the darkness, Enlin seemed to hear a voice from his soul. He struggled to open his eyes, and then found that the rabbit was also looking at him. What's 126,876 divided by 13? The rabbit asked. Enlin's lips trembled, and he was just about to say that he should get a pen and paper. 2 seconds later, the rabbit sighed softly. Sigh, so you haven't recovered. The jade pestle pierced through the air and hit Enlin's head. Thump! Enlin fell into a coma. Thump, 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 thump. In the darkness, Enlin seemed to hear a call from his soul. He tried to open his eyes and found that the rabbit was looking at him. Is this a nightmare? Enlin asked with tears in his eyes. The rabbit didn't answer and continued to ask, What is 896 to the third power? Enlin's heart jolted with shock upon hearing this, and he immediately yelled, Wait! My brain is normal, I'm not stupid. It's just that I've never learned arithmetic. The rabbit blinked its eyes, and its 2 big ears drooped down along its cheek. It said with some confusion, If that's the case, then it's troublesome. How should I know if your brain is normal or not? When Enlin heard this, tears welled up in his eyes again. Speaking of which, was this rabbit's brain really normal? When he saw the rabbit pick up the jade pestle again, he finally knew that the rabbit was serious. How about this? I can recite poems, and I will use them to prove myself. Enlin was quick-witted and shouted, Recite poems. That's a good idea, recite them. The rabbit stared at Enlin with its big pink eyes, and its face was full of anticipation. The moonlight shines in front of my bed, I suspect it's frost on the ground, I raise my head to look at the bright moon. Enlin recited. The rabbit. He's actually reciting a child's poem. As expected, his brain still hasn't recovered. The rabbit raised the jade pestle again. Thump! Enlin's head was hit by the jade pestle, and he fainted again. Enlin felt wronged. He thought that the rabbit wouldn't have heard of the poem he recited. He didn't expect the rabbit to recognize it. In the darkness, an unknown amount of time passed. Thump, 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 and Lin heard the call from his soul again. However, this time, he chose to keep his eyes closed. He wouldn't open them even if he was beaten to death. You can knock all you want, I'll sleep. At this moment, a voice sounded in the room. Xiaoya, how's Lin doing? It was a woman with a soft voice. Lin was very familiar with it. Xiaoya? The jade rabbit that Su Qianyun mentioned before was this? He's woken up a few times, but there's still something wrong with his brain. I'm going to use some medicine to nurse him back to health. The rabbit's voice sounded. Who's wrong with his brain? You're the one with a King abnormal brain. Lin roared in his heart. He knew it was time to open his eyes. Classmate Su, I'm awake. He opened his eyes and sat up. He looked at the woman in front of him and continued, also, I'm very normal. Don't listen to that rabbit's nonsense. Classmate Lin, you're finally awake. Su Qianyun was very happy. She moved closer to Lin. A pair of soft, jade-like hands held onto Lin's wrist and felt the energy in his body. His meridians and energy essence are more or less recovered. Big Sister Chang's ultimate creation pill is indeed effective. Su Qianyun heaved a sigh of relief. What? Big Sister Chang's ultimate creation pill? Lin's eyes widened in confusion. Su Qianyun was just about to explain when the rabbit spoke first. It's like this. During the free-for-all battle, your body suddenly exploded. You lost all your blood essence, and your meridians were all destroyed. If Celestial Immortal Yuhua hadn't sent your body to the soul-locking ice coffin in time for preservation, you would have died a long time ago. However, even Celestial Immortal Yuhua couldn't do anything about your injuries. It could be said that aside from your consciousness, your body was already crippled. In the end, Su Qianyun begged my master to save you. Only then did my master agree to refine an ultimate creation pill for you to repair your meridians and regenerate your blood essence. Lin looked gratefully at Su Qianyun upon hearing the rabbit's words. Thank you. I, Lin, will definitely repay your kindness. Su Qianyun blushed slightly. Just as she was about to speak, the rabbit jumped in front of Lin and spoke first. Repayment is a must. The pill my master refined is a second-grade immortal pill. Not many people in the entire kingdom of the 9 states are able to refine it. He even used countless rare treasures, gathered the essence of the moon, gathered the vitality of heaven and earth, and unleashed a peerless divine power. Lin became more and more shocked as he listened to the rabbit's words. How about, Master Rabbit, you name a price first? Lin felt more and more guilty. This was a King debt that he couldn't repay even if he sold himself 10,000 times. Ahem, the rabbit cleared its throat and rolled its eyes. Then it said slowly, You can repay this slowly, it can't be rushed. First, you have to help me gather the following ingredients. I'm all ears. Lin said solemnly. The rabbit continued, 50 kilograms of dried carrots, 10 boxes of carrot-flavored potato chips, a ton of freshly squeezed carrot-flavored fries. Lin's mouth gaped open as he stood rooted to the spot, dumbfounded. Where were the heavenly treasures and earthly treasures? Where were the rare materials? Is it really okay for me to buy a bunch of junk food as repayment? Alright, Lin, Big Sister Chang is a very nice person. She didn't ask you to do anything to repay her. These are all little Yu's requests. She knows you're going to the mortal world, so she wants you to buy some delicious food for her. Su Qianyun smiled faintly at Lin's expression, revealing 2 dimples as she explained softly. Su Qianyun, why are you siding with an outsider? If this gets out, I'll be so embarrassed. The rabbit glared at Su Qianyun and said angrily. Su Qianyun's face turned red again after hearing the rabbit's words. Lin grasped the key point in Su Qianyun's words. Wait, you said I'm going to the mortal world. Su Qianyun nodded. In 10 days. You'll be the first batch of new students to descend to the mortal world. Enlin was shocked. Descend to the mortal world, I can return to Earth. Chapter 44. News of Enlin's awakening swept through the entire school like a hurricane. After the free-for-all battle, he had already become the university's #1 celebrity. He was known as the most outstanding person in the world. In a short period of time, many students came to visit, and gifts were piled up in the storage room. To be honest, the word overwhelmed was no longer enough to describe his current feelings. What he was feeling right now was that he was truly overwhelmed by the favor of a superstar. You two returned to the Moon Palace after seeing that Enlin was fine and that his brain really didn't seem to have any major problems. Su Xiaolan's eyes were a little red when she saw that Enlin had woken up. She handed him a golden glazed longsword. This was a high-rank magic tool that Enlin had received as a reward for participating in the free-for-all battle. Because Enlin was still unconscious during the award ceremony, Su Xiaolan claimed it for him first. In addition, because Enlin was also a student on the Immortal Rankings board, he had the opportunity to enter the Jade Pagoda to temper his body. However, he was still unconscious when the Jade Pagoda opened, so he missed it also. Because Enlin's performance in the free-for-all battle was outstanding, he had the opportunity to enter the God's Tomb Mountain with the top 10 powerful cultivators on the Immortal Rankings board to comprehend Tao. However, he was still unconscious when the God's Tomb Mountain opened, so he missed it again. After Enlin woke up and heard this news, tears streamed down his cheek. This was no longer something that could be described as having missed out on 100 million yuan. Another thing was that he had been in a coma for 2 whole months this time. Fortunately, this self-detonation didn't leave behind any sequelae. After waking up, not only did he not feel weak, but he also felt full of energy, as if he had an inexhaustible supply of energy. This was probably the effect of the ultimate creation pill. Enlin and Su Xiaolan strolled around the campus. He had just recovered from a serious illness, so it was good for him to go out and walk more. During this time, Su Xiaolan told him about the latest rankings on the Immortal Rankings board. Although Enlin's finger attack was shocking, it was a move that he had risked his life for. Out of consideration for his safety, the school did not include that move in his combat value. Thus, Enlin was ranked 23rd, the highest-ranked cultivator apart from cultivators of the spirit-nurturing stage. This ranking did not change his transcendent position in the school. The students still regarded him as the true #1 in the school. Enlin smiled bitterly when he heard the news. The price of acting tough was too high. He almost exploded and died. He even owed Chang'e a favor that was hard to repay. Against such a deadly move, he wouldn't use it a second time even if he was beaten to death. Although Wang Xuanzhan had been scared unconscious by Enlin, his combat prowess was still the highest in the entire school and he was ranked #1 on the Immortal Rankings board. Lu Qianhuan was ranked 2nd on the Resident Immortal Rankings, while Yang Chengwu was ranked 3rd for 10,000 years. Xianyuan Qing and Su Qianyun also relied on their respective strengths to fight for the 9th and 8th positions on the Immortal Rankings board. This was a rather sensational event for the school. There was also an interlude, and that was the fact that Enlin's summoned beast, Dabai, was not ranked on the Immortal Rankings board. However, the school's official explanation was, Dabai was a spirit beast, not an immortal. If they wanted to rank him, they would make a beast rankings board first and then make an evaluation to this. Enlin smiled calmly. When Dabai came to visit him yesterday, it had complained to him. It had worked hard and performed well, but it was not rewarded. Moreover, it would occasionally feel a chill in its heart as it walked around the school grounds, as if someone was staring at it and wanted to eat it. Enlin believed that these people were either beaten up by him or were his fanatical fan. That's right, Enlin had a large group of fans now. He was a superstar now. Even though he was walking with Su Xiaolan, He was still being followed by many students, and Lin sighed lightly. Was idol chasing popular in the cultivation world as well? He had underestimated the impact that the finger of the heavenly Tao had on the students. Thinking of the finger of the heavenly Tao, he thought of Chen Chen. He had only learned this terrifying technique because of Chen Chen. This Chen Chen was definitely not a simple character. Oh right, what's Chen Chen's ranking on the Immortal Rankings board? And Lin asked. Chen Chen, who's that? Su Xiaolan's brows furrowed slightly in confusion. Huh? He's that young man who scared Wang Xuanzhan to the ground. And Lin explained. Oh, I do remember him. I don't think his name is on the Immortal Rankings board. A look of realization appeared on Su Xiaolan's face. Only remember him? And Lin's heart was still shaken when he thought back to such a visually impactful scene. She had almost forgotten about Chen Chen. Her teacher must have seen this as well. There was no reason for him to be barred from the Immortal Rankings board. And Lin shook his head and decided not to think about this. Perhaps everyone was working together to keep a low profile. This wasn't something he could control. All in all, Lin had reaped quite a lot from the free-for-all battle. Putting aside that suicidal explosion technique, his cultivation base had risen from the 7th stage Tao body to the 9th stage Tao body, and he had cultivated the stage 1 Earth Lotus Supreme skill as well as the Divine Might technique. Furthermore, he had eaten a 2nd-rank immortal pill and was full of energy. He had received a bunch of gifts from his fans and obtained a high-rank magic tool. This was quite a haul. Oh right, I've entered the Immortal Rankings board, so there's still the system's prize draw. And Lin opened the system in his mind and flipped to the Special Missions tab. Congratulations, host, for completing the mission. You have now received a Magic Tool lottery ticket. This lottery ticket has the following rewards. Magic Tool 100 pieces, Spirit Tool 50 pieces, Immortal Tool 10 pieces, Custom-made Weapon 2 pieces. And Lin stared at the system with a fiery gaze. Who would have thought that the system would not only be able to draw Spirit Tools, but also Immortal Tools? Spirit Tools were already the most precious treasures of ordinary cultivation sections. As for Immortal Tools, they were the most precious treasures of first-rate cultivation sects. Although he didn't know what a custom-made weapon was, it must be something amazing. And Lin swallowed his saliva and began to draw the lottery in his mind. Suddenly, the system emitted a blinding light. Ding-ling! Congratulations, you've won the grand prize! And Lin's heart trembled violently. He was so excited that he almost suffocated. I've won the grand prize. Did you hear that? I've won the grand prize. Is it an immortal tool? And Lin looked at the system and saw that it had displayed. Congratulations, you've obtained a custom-made weapon, Chaotic Alloy Brick. This brick is extremely hard, the hardest brick in the world. The workmanship of this brick is exquisite, with distinct edges and corners, the best neatness in the world. This brick is pitch black, the blackest in the world. Swoosh. A pitch-black brick appeared in Lin's hand. It feels good, very metallic. Lin's body trembled, and he felt like vomiting blood. This is a brick, right? No matter how much you boast, this is still AF *King brick, right? Just like a pile of SH*T, even if it was excreted by a fairy, it wouldn't change its nature. The system's so-called winning the grand prize is actually a brick. When others fight, they wield swords and sabers. Does he just hold a brick and purposely run over to hit the back of other people's heads? Lin's vision darkened. His body, which had just recovered from a serious illness, almost fainted from the black brick in his hand. Chapter 45. Time passed by quickly, and there were only 3 days left until the mission to the mortal world. The first batch of new students had already been confirmed. There were only 3 spots, Lin, Xianyuanqing, and Su Xiaolan. Xianyuanqing was the strongest among the new batch of students, so he was given a spot. Su Qianyun didn't make the cut because she wasn't proficient in any of the languages she had learned. Then, Su Xiaolan, who was ranked 25th on the Immortal Rankings board, took over Su Qianyun's spot. After that, it was Enlin, a native of the mortal world. The teachers had high hopes for the powerful Enlin, who was born and raised on Earth. They appointed him as the team leader for this mission. Enlin was extremely flattered. Even Big Brother Cheng had become his team member. He was under a lot of pressure. On this day, an unexpected guest knocked on the door of his house. Lu Qianhuan, why are you here? An ominous feeling welled up in Enlin's heart when he saw that it was the internet addict Lu Qianhuan. Lu Qianhuan had already come to visit Enlin when he recovered. This time, she definitely did not come because she missed him. There had to be a trap. Hee, Enlin, did you miss me? Lu Qianhuan smiled like a flower, and her purple eyes glowed with dreamy colors as she spoke. Ahem. Lu Qianhuan, if you have something to say, just say it. Enlin could no longer stand Lu Qianhuan's way of speaking. Lu Qianhuan sighed softly, and a hint of disappointment flashed across her beautiful eyes. Enlin, can't you be a little more adorable when you speak? You won't be able to find a Dao partner if you act like this. Enlin's chest tightened upon hearing this. The way you speak is so infuriating. Do you think you'll be able to find a Dao partner? Lu Qianhuan smirked. I've already burned hundreds of love letters. What do you think? Enlin choked upon hearing Lu Qianhuan's words, and his heart throbbed with pain. What brings you here, Goddess Lu? Enlin asked in exasperation. All right, I'm here to ask you for a small favor. Seeing that Enlin wasn't going to bicker with her, a sincere expression appeared on Lu Qianhuan's face as she got down to business. Tell me, what do you need? If it wasn't something particularly difficult, Enlin would always be willing to help others. Aren't you going to the mortal world? I want you to help me purchase things. Lu Qianhuan asked expectantly. Purchasing agent? Enlin's eyelids twitched. So it turned out that everyone else was purchasing agent from overseas, but he was going to be purchasing agent from overseas. What do you want to buy? He asked cautiously. I don't need much. I need the latest laptop with the latest apps for popular games like League of Legends, Overwatch, Arena of Valor, and On My OG installed in it. Also, I need the latest speaker for Wanderer, 2 iPhone 8 phones, and a 65-inch Sony 4K HD flat-screen TV. Lu Qianhuan rattled on. Enlin's expression darkened. This isn't much? This isn't F*King much? Can you stuff them all in one house? Speaking of which, I can't possibly carry so many things by myself. Do you want them to ship it all the way to Xiaoxian United University? Enlin forced himself to calm down and chuckled coldly. What a joke. There were so many things that they could pile up into a small mountain. I've already considered this problem for you. Lu Qianhuan took out a ring with a dainty smile. This storage ring has a space of 100 feet. It's a high-grade storage ring with a market value of 20,000 spirit stones. Even the elders of a normal cultivation sect wouldn't be willing to buy one. As for this storage ring, consider it my payment for hiring you to purchase things for me. This. Enlin's eyes widened. This storage ring was extremely tempting to him. However, he still wore a bitter expression. By the way, can you change it to a different style? The storage ring in Lu Qianhuan's hand was pink. There was even a flower-shaped carving on it. If Enlin wore this storage ring, he would definitely be treated as a pervert. Why? This ring is quite pretty. Lu Qianhuan was confused. Can't you put yourself in my shoes? Enlin was a little speechless. That's right, I'm just putting myself in your shoes. If I were you, I would like it very much. Pink is so pretty. Lu Qianhuan cocked her head to the side with a puzzled expression. Enlin clasped his hand over his heart as his lips trembled. F*King putting myself in her shoes. Was this girl's brain working normally? Thankfully, Lu Qianhuan still had other storage rings in her inventory. After much persuasion, Enlin finally managed to exchange them for a silver storage ring. Although it wasn't the pretentious bronze-colored storage ring, it was still much better than the pink one. Lu Qianhuan handed the shopping list to Enlin and left. Enlin wore the storage ring happily. This silver storage ring was also a high-grade storage ring. This was a storage ring that was worth 20,000 spirit stones. A storage ring of this grade was considered a precious treasure in the cultivation world. He didn't think that he would be able to obtain one just by helping to purchase things from the mortal world. How could he not be ecstatic? Enlin eagerly refined the storage ring. Then, he tossed the black brick and the treasured sword into the storage ring. Furthermore, he also picked out some pills, talismans, formation discs, and other items that his adorable fans had given him. He tossed them into the storage ring one by one. Just as he was happily stroking the ring in his hand, a thought flashed through his mind. It was as if he had opened the door to a whole new world. Not every student had the opportunity to cross the spatial gate and descend into the mortal world. Some students who were passionate about the things of the mortal world would think of all sorts of ways to obtain things from the mortal world. Then, could he start a business of purchasing things from the mortal world? He could determine the amount of spirit stones that the students would have to pay him according to the amount of space in the storage ring and the difficulty of obtaining those items. Enlin's eyes lit up. He was going to do it. In an instant, the dormitory area of the United University of Cultivation was plastered with Enlin's advertisement. Dear, do you need a purchasing service? As long as you pay a certain amount of spirit stones, Enlin will be able to help you purchase all sorts of things from the mortal world. Fair dealing, quality guaranteed. This news swept through the entire school like a hurricane. Who was Enlin? The #1 celebrity in the school. Moreover, it was said that he had come from the mortal world, so he must be very familiar with the things there. If he was in charge of purchasing, his integrity would definitely be passable, and the quality would definitely be very reassuring. Just like that, countless students who were passionate about the culture of the mortal world placed orders with Enlin one after another. Some of them bought all kinds of audio players and albums, some of them bought all kinds of snacks, some of them asked him to download a few hundred good movies for them, and some of them even asked him to bring some fun stuff for them if he saw one in these 3 days. Enlin received a whole 30,000 spirit stones as a purchasing service. He looked at the mountain of spirit stones and the stacks of orders in his storage ring, and his heart blossomed with joy. Chapter 46. Today was a very important day. The first batch of new students was about to descend into the mortal world. Enlin, Xianyuan Qing, and Su Xiaolan were led by their homeroom teacher, the Flying Sword God, to the southern heavenly gate of the Celestial Court. Xiaoxian United University was located on a floating continent. It was originally part of the territory of the Celestial Court, but it was located in a rather remote area. The main territory of the Celestial Court was located on an even larger floating continent. Compared to Xiaoxian United University, it was like comparing a city to a small town. In order to reach the southern heavenly gate, Enlin and the others flew a total of 500 kilometers. His mission to descend to the mortal world was to reinforce the seal of a demon pagoda in Kunlun Mountain and to kill a recently reported king-level demon in the mortal world. There were 4 types of monsters in the mortal world: monsters, demons, ghosts, and monsters. Monsters and demons were monsters with consciousness, while ghosts and monsters were twisted and chaotic monsters. They were divided into 4 ranks according to their strength: soldier, general, king, and emperor. A soldier rank monster was equivalent to a cultivator of the 5th stage Tao body. A general rank monster was equivalent to a cultivator of the 10th stage Tao body. A king rank monster was equivalent to a cultivator of the spirit nurturing initial stage. Normally, it would be very difficult for cultivators in the mortal world to deal with monsters of this level. At that time, the relevant departments in the mortal world would report it to the Celestial Court through special channels. As for an emperor rank monster, it was at least of the half-step soul formation stage. This type of monster only appeared once in 10 years. Once it did appear, it would cause a great disturbance in the mortal world. The mission that Enlin and the others were carrying out this time wasn't too difficult for their team. After all, they had Xian Yuancheng to rely on. He could even defeat cultivators of the spirit-nurturing intermediate stage in the university. In other words, cultivators of the spirit-nurturing final stage in the Kingdom of the Nine States might not even be a match for him. Of course, Enlin was the team leader. His mission was going to be even more difficult than that of Xian Yuancheng and the others. That's right, he still had to act as a buyer. At the southern heavenly gate, 2 jade pillars with dragon engravings pierced into the clouds. At the center of the jade pillar was a light screen with 5 colored ripples. 2 godly generals stood guard at the southern heavenly gate with weapons in hand. Each of them exuded an extremely vast and powerful aura. When they saw Enlin and the others, they merely nodded slightly. The flying sword god handed a letter to one of the god generals. It contained the details of the mission and the landing coordinates of the team. Go to the Kunlun Void? The coordinates are the Baiyun Temple in Chengdu, right? No problem. One of the immortal generals nodded and used an immortal technique to condense a holographic operation interface. Wow. How high-end. Enlin's eyes blinked unblinkingly. Was this a scene from a sci-fi movie? How could it be simulated with immortal spells? You guys go through this door first. The immortal general waved at Enlin and the others. Hearing this, Enlin took the lead and walked through the door with a colorful screen of light. After passing through the screen of light, he saw that his surroundings were all gray. There was no up, down, left, or right. Even the ground had disappeared. It was as if he was in a world of chaos. After the 3 of them walked through the door, the immortal general began to choose the coordinates. Thank you, immortal general. The flying sword god cupped his hands at the 2 immortal generals to express his gratitude. It's my duty. You're welcome, the immortal general who was operating the interface replied. Then, he felt his nose itch. Then, he opened his mouth. Achoo! The immortal general sneezed and accidentally pressed the teleport button on the holographic interface. *T. The immortal general looked at the flying sword god apologetically. The flying sword god. On a beautiful blue planet, there was a majestic mountain. On this majestic mountain, there was a little flower blooming proudly. I am a flower fairy. What I do every day is silently take root, happily photosynthesize, and diligently cultivate. When the sun shines brightly, I silently take root, happily photosynthesize, and diligently cultivate. When the rain is boundless, I silently take root, diligently photosynthesize, and diligently cultivate. When the spring is infinitely beautiful, I silently take root, happily photosynthesize, and diligently cultivate. When the summer is full of shade, I silently take root, happily photosynthesize, and diligently cultivate. When the autumn wind dyed the forest, I silently take root, sadly photosynthesize, and diligently cultivate. When the winter snow swirls, I silently take root, earnestly photosynthesize, and diligently cultivate. Don't you feel annoyed seeing this? This is why I can cultivate to become an immortal, while you are mere mortals. I photosynthesize day after day, diligently cultivate year after year. I'm bored too, but I persevere. Today is the last day of my journey to become an immortal. Persevere for one more day, as long as this day ends. The wind today is very noisy, but there is a different kind of gentleness in the noise. I slightly raise my proud head. In the sky, there is an adorable sun and a big butt. I have a bad premonition. The big butt in the sky is getting closer and closer, and the direction it's falling toward is me. No way. I can't be this unlucky, right? I've painstakingly cultivated for dozens of years, but on the day before I become an immortal, I'll be crushed to death by a big butt? Save me! The flower is going to die. The flower fairy loudly yelled, and a crystalline bead appeared on the red flower. Bam! his big but directly pressed down, pressing the flower of the motherland into the ground. Ouch, ouch, ouch. A handsome young man grimaced in pain as he rubbed his butt. The young man descending from the sky was Enlin, who had descended to the mortal world to carry out a mission. Aw! A lithe and graceful figure descended from the sky and threw herself into Enlin's arms. Bam! Another cloud of dust filled the air, and this time, it was Su Xiaolan who descended. But luckily, there was a meat shield like Enlin in front of her, and he acted as a buffer, so she didn't suffer much damage. Su Xiaolan's little face was slightly red, and she frantically struggled out of Enlin's arms and stood up. Thank you. Su Xiaolan looked at Enlin gratefully. You're welcome. I actually didn't want to help you. The feeling of hugging a girl in his arms really wasn't all that great. Enlin felt like he was going to faint from being crushed by Su Xiaolan. Su Xiaolan, whoosh! A man flew through the air on his sword, and his extremely handsome face was full of apology. I'm sorry, classmate Su Xiaolan and classmate Enlin. I was teleported here a second too late. Otherwise, you wouldn't have ended up like this. The man was none other than Xianyuan Cheng. He leaped down from his flying sword and apologized in a gentle and humble manner. Enlin shook his head. It's not your fault. If you want to blame someone, blame this *T teleportation. How dare you teleport into the sky? Do you really think Dao body stage cultivators can fly through the sky and burrow into the ground? He held a deep grudge against the two gate gods of the southern heavenly gate. If his cultivation base was a little lower and his body was a little more fragile, then he really would have become the first student to die during a mission in the mortal world. At this moment, a soft and delicate voice came from below him. Big baddie, hurry up and move your *SS away. You're squashing the flower. Enlin was startled by this voice, and he immediately jumped up to look down at the ground. He saw a delicate and alluring red flower sticking tightly to the ground. Its jade neck had already been crushed, and bright red liquid flowed out from it. Chapter 47. Fuck, was that you talking just now? Enlin looked at the flower that had been squashed into a miserable state by him, and said in a surprised voice. Xianyuan Cheng and Su Xiaolan also curiously came over and looked at the little flower. Woo woo woo, of course it was me. Who did I offend that I had to suffer this kind of disaster? The red flower once again let out a delicate voice as it complained. Enlin became more and more surprised the more he looked. He squatted down and poked the little flower. That's strange, didn't they say that spirits aren't allowed after the country was founded? So painful. You're so cruel. I feel like I'm going to die and you still torture me like this. The little red flower cried out as it was poked by Enlin. Xianyuan Cheng said with a serious expression at this time, Classmate Enlin, this is a flower spirit that is about to condense its beast core. However, after being pressed down by you, its neck has been broken. I'm afraid that once all of its blood essence is gone, it will wither and die. Then what do we do? Enlin's face was filled with guilt when he heard this. This flower spirit could already speak, so it must have been blessed by the heavens and earth. It wasn't easy for the flower spirit to cultivate, but he had just sat on it and killed it. In reality, he was quite embarrassed. After the red flower heard Xianyuan Cheng's words, it knew that it didn't have long to live. Its body trembled, and it almost fainted from crying. There is a method. Xianyuan Cheng said in a low voice. What method is it? Quickly say it. The flower spirit was feeling weak all over and it might really die soon. It anxiously spoke at this time. The flower spirit's neck has been broken and its energy essence is constantly flowing out. At this time, if we can make a master and servant contract with a cultivator, the master can use the power of the contract to provide energy to the flower spirit and we can solve the problem of its energy essence dissipating. Maintain it until the flower spirit condenses its beast core and we can completely solve this problem. Xianyuan Cheng said in a serious tone. This was a matter of life and death, so how could the flower spirit hesitate? It immediately said, "I agree, I agree." After saying that, it looked pitifully at the three people around it. It knew that the three of them were cultivators. As long as one of them agreed to sign a contract with it, its life would be saved. "Because of my bloodline, I can't casually make a contract," Su Xiaolan said first. "Due to my special cultivation technique, I cannot casually establish a contract," Xianyuan Qing said with a serious expression. Thus, the two humans and the demon turned their gazes to Enlin. Enlin. He was the main straw that crushed the flower fairies, so naturally he had to take this responsibility. However, he was not a casual person. He had to understand the situation first. And, by the way, can you fly? Enlin looked at the flower fairy and asked. He actually wanted to raise a majestic spirit beast like Dabai. He really didn't have any interest in flower fairies. The flower fairy knew that its last hope of survival was placed on Enlin. When it heard his question, it almost cried out, "Have you ever seen a flower fly in the sky?" Enlin sighed in disappointment and continued to ask, "Then, what are your specialties?" "Specialties?" The flower fairy thought about it and happily said, "I can take root. I can photosynthesize. I can also cultivate." Enlin, Xianyuan Qing, Su Xiaolan. When the flower fairy saw the expressions of the three people, it seemed to know that its specialties weren't right. Its flower body swayed slightly and it looked pitifully at Enlin. Enlin slapped his forehead and sighed, "Forget it, I deserve to owe you. Let's sign the contract." When the flower fairy heard this, dew came out again and it said with a sobbing tone, "Ah, thank you. Thank you. Big Brother Enlin is really a good person. Don't casually give me a good person card." Enlin glared at the flower fairy. The flower fairy shrank back in fright, not knowing what it had done wrong again. Enlin had learned the immortal technique of signing a master-servant contract when he was at Xiaoxian United University. He didn't think that it would be put to use so quickly. He formed hand seals and his vital energy surged. Then, he cut open his finger and a drop of golden blood appeared on his fingertip. "Now you must absorb this drop of blood without any resistance," Enlin said to the flower fairy. After he finished speaking, he dripped the drop of golden blood onto the flower fairy's petal. The blood slowly seeped into the flower fairy's body. The flower fairy let out a delicate cry and its body began to tremble. Very quickly, Enlin found that he had some kind of connection with the flower fairy. At this time, his vital energy began to teleport towards the flower fairy. Enlin sighed. He plucked the flower fairy and placed it in his pocket. As a result, from today onwards, Enlin had a demon pet that ate his rice. Phew! Master's pocket is so warm, I like it! The flower fairy felt that its vitality was slowly recovering. It was time to flatter and make its master happy. After all, it still had to rely on him to condense a demon core in the future. Enlin lightly snorted and said, "You eat my vital energy every day, so you have to pay me in the future. 100 spirit stones a day, no bargaining." Okay. The flower fairy readily agreed. Although it didn't know what spirit stones were, it agreed first. It wouldn't make its master angry. When Su Xiaolan saw this, she giggled. She felt that letting Enlin be its master was really pitiful for this flower fairy. "That's right, master. Little flower still doesn't have a name. How about you give me one?" The flower fairy originally wanted to give itself a name after transforming, but now that it had already signed a contract with Enlin, it wouldn't be good to give itself a name. This is a problem." Enlin rubbed his chin. After thinking for a bit, he said, "Your body is bright red, how about we call you Little Red?" Xianyuan Qing and Su Xiaolan both trembled when they heard this and they almost spat out. The flower fairy in the pocket that was full of excitement also fell into silence at this time. After a long time, a voice rang out. "Master, how about we change our name?" A drop of dew appeared on the flower fairy's petal as it spoke in an aggrieved voice. The name Little Red to the flower fairy was similar to the human names Li Go Dan or Wang Er Sha. There were tens of thousands of flowers in the world, but you named them with colors. Wasn't this insulting flowers? No, Anlin said with a determined expression. I think this name suits you very well. Little Red, you have to believe in Master's eyes. Little Red understands. Master's name is the best. The flower fairy's sweet voice came from the pocket. It really was very sad, but it still had to maintain its smile. Who told it to live under someone else's roof? Hearing the flower fairy's words, Anlin nodded his head with a satisfied expression. Xianyuan Cheng and Su Xiaolan looked at Anlin's pocket with sympathetic gazes, wanting to say something but hesitating. Anlin did not know that the flower fairy was already in his pocket, filled with sadness. Why is my pocket wet? Little Red, are you all right? Anlin walked on the road and found that a small part of his pocket was wet, so he spoke in a worried voice. No, it's nothing. Little Red is just thinking about leaving its homeland, so it's a bit sad. The flower fairy sobbed. It would not tell Anlin that it was crying because of its name. Chapter 48. Anlin and the others walked on the mountain. Their top priority was to get to the rendezvous point. Logically speaking, they should have landed at the Baiyun Temple on the outskirts of Chengdu. However, even an idiot knew that they must have landed in the wrong place. There was no Taoist temple nearby. They were surrounded by mountains. Apart from the green forest, there was nothing else. Right now, they didn't even know where they were. After walking for about an hour, Anlin finally saw a road. He was overjoyed. Now that there was a road, he could ask any driver to find out where they were. He could even use a car to get to the Baiyun Temple in Chengdu. Huh? A human is trapped. It's a demon beast. Xianyuan Cheng's expression froze. His body flashed, and he rushed forward. Anlin and Su Xiaolan were also startled as a sense of foreboding welled up in their hearts. Boom! A car that was running on the road was stopped by Xianyuan Cheng with his bare hand. The entire front of the car was dented by his hands. Then, a terrifying sound of metal screeching was heard. Rip! Xianyuan Cheng tore the car in half with his bare hand. Then, he pulled off the tentacle that was binding the human and carried him in his arms. Then, he dashed to the side. Boom! The car exploded. Xianyuan Cheng held the man in his arms. A gentle smile appeared on his face. That was close. Are you okay? The man's eyes widened. His face was ashen and his lips trembled. Ghost. Alien. Xianyuan Cheng sighed and shook his head. He understood the man's condition. Obviously, the man was scared out of his wits by the demon beast. Anlin and Su Xiaolan stood by the side of the road. When they saw this scene, their mouths formed an O shape. Su Xiaolan was very serious in her studies. She knew that the thing running on the road was not a demon beast but a car. As for Anlin, he had never seen a demon beast tear a demon beast apart. But now, Brother Ching showed him how to tear a car apart with his bare hands. F***ck. He tore a car apart with his bare hands. How could he not be shocked? After a while, Anlin and Su Xiaolan recovered. Big Brother Ching. Anlin walked over and reminded him seriously, the thing that was running on the road was a car, not a demonic beast. After listening to Anlin's words, Xianyuan Cheng fell into deep thought. I remember now. That's a man-made machine. No wonder I couldn't sense any signs of life. Xianyuan Cheng's eyes lit up as if he had thought of something. Then, he looked apologetically at the chubby man in his arms and said, I'm sorry, I was reckless and accidentally tore your car apart. I'll compensate you next time. The slightly plump man was already pale with fright. When he heard Xianyuan Cheng's words, he shook his head like a rattle drum. No. You don't have to pay. I'm just begging you to let me go. My meat is too greasy and unpalatable. I eat hormone food every day and breathe in smog every day. My meat is poisonous. Xian Yuan Qing, Enlin, Su Xiaolan. Did this middle-aged man think they were man-eating monsters? Enlin sighed. He walked over to the middle-aged man and used a memory erasure technique. This was an immortal technique that every cultivator had to learn before descending into the mortal world. Its purpose was to avoid the current situation. After the man's memory was erased, he fell into a coma. Xian Yuan Qing placed him on the ground and cooperated with Enlin by using a recovery technique on him. The middle-aged man slowly regained consciousness. His expression shifted slightly when he saw three strangers standing in front of him. Where am I? Why am I here? The middle-aged man felt a little dizzy. He tried hard to recall. He only remembered that he was driving a car. Why was he suddenly lying on the ground? At this moment, a handsome young man said with a smile, "Uncle, you've been lying here the entire time. We just happened to pass by and saw you lying on the side of the road. We were worried, so we came to take care of you. Also, is that your car on the side of the road?" He pointed in the direction of the road as he spoke. The middle-aged man looked toward the side of the road and saw the smoking wreckage as well as the charred license plate number. His mouth gaped open. Holy F***ck. My car exploded? That's right. That's really strange. You're not injured, so what happened? Enlin looked at the middle-aged man with curiosity. Xian Yuan Qing and Su Xiaolan also looked at the middle-aged man with curiosity. It was as if they had seen something unbelievable. It had to be said that their acting skills were really good. The middle-aged man looked at the three of them with a dumbstruck expression. He discovered that they were also looking at him with curiosity. Finally, he pulled out his phone with trembling hand. He took a picture of the car and called the police. Thanks to the middle-aged man, Enlin and the others also hitched a ride with the traffic police. Enlin described himself as a kind-hearted young man who got out of the car midway and helped the middle-aged man. After his speech, the middle-aged man was so touched that he was muddled. After being touched, the two of them chatted happily. In the face of the middle-aged man's gratitude and being touched, Xian Yuan Qing, the main culprit who tore the car with his bare hands, blushed and felt a little embarrassed. Enlin, we'll find a way to compensate this middle-aged man. Xian Yuan Qing whispered in Enlin's ear. Enlin smiled and said, "Don't worry, the relevant departments of the country will help us clean up our mess. We'll find someone to pick us up and then let them handle it." Xian Yuan Qing heard Enlin's words and breathed a sigh of relief. The guilt in his heart finally lessened a little. The middle-aged man's name was Zheng Hongbang, and he happened to be from Chengdu. The place where the accident happened was not far from Chengdu, only about 50 kilometers away. After an hour of driving, they arrived at their destination. Enlin did not have the leisure to go to the police station with them to make a statement, so he used the great amnesia spell on everyone in the car. After everyone in the car fainted, he got out of the car with Xian Yuan Qing and Su Xiaolan and left. Chengdu was the largest city in the southwest and had the reputation of being the land of abundance. Enlin's hometown was Shanqing, which was not far from Chengdu. He usually came to Chengdu for a walk when he had nothing to do, so he had a certain understanding of the place. Therefore, as soon as he got out of the car, he took Su Xiaolan and Xian Yuan Qing to walk around. Chengdu was full of high-rise buildings, and the area around Chuanxi Road was even more lively. All kinds of shops dotted the area, and countless delicious food and restaurants were eye-catching. There was also a bustling crowd walking on the street. It was a bustling scene. It was the first time that Su Xiaolan and Xian Yuan Qing came to the mortal world. When they saw the dazzling array of new things, they widened their eyes and looked around in amazement. Fortunately, they were all from famous sects and clans in the cultivation world. Although they were amazed by these new things, they would not act too exaggeratedly. At least, things like Xian Yuan Qing tearing a car with his bare hands wouldn't happen again. "Oh right, Enlin, don't we need to go to Baiyun Temple to meet with the people who will pick us up first?" After walking for a long time, Su Xiaolan remembered that they had not gone to meet with the people who will pick them up yet. Enlin smiled and shook his head. Before we came, our homeroom teacher told us that Baiyun Temple is a very secretive Taoist temple. Ordinary people do not know the existence of this Taoist temple. We landed at the wrong place, so we don't know the specific location of Baiyun Temple. In this case, instead of looking for the people who will pick us up, why don't we let them find us? Enlin continued. Hearing that, Xianyuan Qing nodded. Yes, this is indeed a good idea. We just need to create some unnatural phenomena, and I think some observation departments will take the initiative to search for us. It will save us a lot of effort. Exactly. We will take action at night. Let's have some fun during the day. Enlin smiled. Chapter 49. Enlin, Su Xiaolan, and Xianyuan Qing played in the metropolis for an entire day. Under the leadership of Enlin, they had a great time and spent all the money in the 5 wallet. You want to ask where the wallets came from? Xianyuan Qing released his divine sense, and could always find some hooligans who were looking for trouble in the corner. So he showed up to enforce justice on behalf of the heavens and then took away some property. It was that simple. The habit of beating monsters for equipment and robbing treasures had always been a tradition in the cultivation world. Coming to the mortal world, it was natural to continue to carry forward this excellent inheritance, don't you think so? Enlin and the others bought a few clothes, then ate a spicy hot pot, and then walked 100 steps after dinner. It was not until after 10 o'clock in the evening that they decided to start making some big news. At the top of a tall building, there stood 3 people facing the wind. This area was extremely prosperous, with dazzling neon lights constantly flashing. No one would notice the 3 people standing on top of their heads. Come on, please start your performance. Enlin looked at Su Xiaolan with a smile. Su Xiaolan smiled faintly and casually formed a spell. Suddenly, the surrounding elemental energy surged crazily. A soft cry spread in all directions. Then, a 3-meter-tall flaming phoenix soared into the sky and exploded high in the sky. Boom! The explosion of the flames was accompanied by a loud sound, and the sky within a radius of 3 meters was reflected red. On the ground, countless people were attracted by the sound and the flames, and then they looked up and saw a shocking scene. Oh my God, am I dreaming? Why is the sky on fire? It's not as simple as a fire. I just saw a firebird flying into the sky, that's why there's such a scene. You're bragging, do you think the X-Men in Marvel came here to fight? Fire Phoenix. But what's with the flames in the sky? It's too unscientific. The scene of the Fire Phoenix flying into the sky happened too quickly, so not many people saw it. However, the scene of the flames spreading in the sky was witnessed by many people. Some of the quicker ones even took out their phones to take pictures and upload them to their WeChat moment. In an instant, the news spread rapidly in their WeChat moment. Although many people thought that these pictures were photoshopped, they still couldn't stop the pictures from going viral in their WeChat moments because the pictures were too F***ing realistic. Seeing that their goal had been achieved, Xianyuan Qing took out a spell formation that could emit vital energy wave. Any cultivator would be able to find the source of the vital energy waves and find them. Sure enough, about half an hour later, there was some movement downstairs. There were 7 or 8 people who had come, and their average cultivation base was around the 5th stage Tao body. In the context of Earth, this was already considered a pretty good strength. Among them, a tall and slender woman with long hair walked out. She was dressed in black casual clothes. The female's cultivation base wasn't bad. She was already at the 7th stage Tao body. She should be the leader of that group of people. After seeing Enlin and the others, although she was puzzled, she was very calm and steady. She said, I'm Huang Shanshan, the captain of the 2nd team of the National Special Operations Department. May I ask why you're releasing immortal spells on a large scale here? You're Huang Shanshan? Enlin's escort for this mission was Huang Shanshan. When he heard this name, he immediately took out a token from his storage ring and said, "We are envoys from the Celestial Court, Chengdu Baiyun Temple." Seeing the familiar token, Huang Shanshan no longer had any doubts in her heart. She bowed respectfully and said, "So it's Lord Immortal Messenger who has arrived. Junior did not welcome you properly, please forgive me." After she finished speaking, the 7 or 8 attendants behind her also bowed in unison, their movements very orderly. As for Wyan Lin and the others were here instead of at the Baiyun Temple, Huang Shanshan did not have any intention to ask. Instead, she immediately started to arrange their food, clothing, and accommodation. This made Xian Yuan Cheng and the others involuntarily look up to this Huang Shanshan. The immortal messenger released an immortal spell to let her determine the coordinates, which meant that the coordinates where they landed were wrong. Regarding this matter, she could also deduce in her heart. The difficult part was that she did not show the slightest intention to understand the cause of this matter, and only did her best to do what she was supposed to do. From this, it could be seen that this woman was very shrewd and capable. Huang Shanshan handed the 3 of them a bank card each. There was 1 billion yuan in the card, and they could spend the money as they pleased. If there was no money in it, they could inform her, and she would immediately help them top up. Since the immortal messenger was helping to slay demons, they naturally would not let these yellow and white things restrict the hands and feet of the immortal messenger. As for these ordinary things, Xian Yuan Cheng just calmly put the card into his storage ring. However, Su Xiaolan's eyes lit up. She had only spent a few thousand yuan today, so she knew that this 1 billion yuan was already a huge sum of money. Being able to buy as much as they wanted was an extremely joyful thing for any girl. And Lin also put away the card with satisfaction. Purchasing king. He was definitely going to become one. Huang Shanshan led Lin and the others to Chengdu's Crown Plaza Hotel. This was a 5-star hotel, and it was the property of the number 1 clan in the southwest, the Zheng family. The head of the Zheng family, Zheng Hongyi, was already waiting at the entrance of the hotel to welcome Lin and the others. As the head of the number 1 clan in the southwest, he had the right to know some secrets, and it was precisely because of this that he was extremely respectful toward Lin and the others, not daring to slight them in the slightest. Immortal Messenger, I've prepared all the electronic equipment and daily necessities you need for your activities in the mortal world in the presidential suite. If there's anything else you need, feel free to tell Little Zheng, and Little Zheng will do his best to satisfy your needs. Zheng Hongyi bowed slightly, and his big belly shrunk as he spoke with a fawning expression. A 40 to 50-year-old uncle kept referring to himself as Little Zheng, and Lin was really not used to it. However, when he heard the name Zheng Hongyi, a person's name suddenly popped up in his mind. Little Zheng, do you know a person named Zheng Hongbang? And Lin also noticed that their appearances were somewhat similar, so he asked. Zheng Hongyi instantly became excited when he heard this. I do, he's my younger cousin. And Lin's eyes lit up when he heard this. Oh, it's like this. Today, we accidentally tore your cousin's car apart. I have a bank card here, transfer some money to your cousin and buy him a good car. Even though Zheng Hongyi was a seasoned veteran, he was still quite shocked when he heard Lin's words. What the F***ck? Could an immortal messenger tear apart a car with his bare hands? Zheng Hongyi reacted extremely quickly, and he immediately said respectfully, My cousin has long wanted to get a new car. He wanted to throw that car away for a long time, but you tore it apart. I can't even thank you enough. How can I accept your money? When Lin heard this, he knew that Zheng Hongyi was unwilling to accept his money, so he could only resentfully take back the bank card. Right at this moment, Zheng Hongyi said with a fawning smile, If a mortal messenger likes to tear apart cars with your bare hands, how about I arrange for 100 cars for you to tear apart for fun tomorrow? Don't worry. I have whatever model of car you want to tear apart. Zheng Hongyi patted his chest as he spoke. Su Xiaolan burst into laughter when she heard this. Lin, on the other hand, waved his hand awkwardly, indicating that there was no need for the trouble. As for the main culprit, Xianyuan Qing, his extremely handsome face turned slightly red, and he began to turn his face away. Chapter 50. After bidding farewell to the very enthusiastic Zheng Hongyi, Lin and the others moved into the presidential suite. The living room of the suite was filled with all kinds of trendy electronic products. Lin glanced at these products and felt that the first thing he needed to do was to teach Xianyuan Qing and Su Xiaolan how to use a mobile phone. In the mortal world, with a mobile phone in hand, basically anything could be solved. Whether it was communication, shopping, or searching for information, it could all be done with a mobile phone. Both of them were relatively smart people, so they learned quickly. Lin only taught for half an hour, and they had mastered the basic operation of a mobile phone. They even began to familiarize themselves with the use of some essential software. After that, Lin left and let them play by themselves. The trip to Kunlun Mountain to strengthen the seal of the Demon Pagoda was set for 10 days later. They still had a period of time to move freely in the mortal world and do what they wanted. The next day, Lin put on a set of sportswear and walked to the street, starting his career as a shopping agent. As for Su Xiaolan and Xianyuan Qing, they also had their own activities, doing things that interested them. The task of purchasing 30,000 spirit stones was not a simple task, and there was no lack of particularly tricky items. This would be mentioned later, and Lin planned to start with the simple ones first. He swaggered into an electronics store, and then bought more than a dozen air conditioners, more than 20 oversized widescreen TVs, hundreds of high-end computers, hundreds of mobile phones, and more than 200 single-lens reflex cameras. His actions directly scared the shopping guide, and finally, the general manager of the electronics store was alarmed, suspecting that someone had come to cause trouble. But in the end, Lin walked out of the electronics store under the flattering smile of the general manager of the electronics store. The things he wanted to buy had been sent to a specific location. After buying the electronics, it was time to buy jewelry. The requirements for jewelry were somewhat varied, and there were all kinds. Lin was holding a list, and even he was a little annoyed looking at it. Just as he was walking on the road, a crisp and sweet voice suddenly came. Lin. This voice was somewhat familiar to him, and he couldn't help but raise his head to look. Then, he saw a beautiful woman with long hair looking at him with a shocked expression. Lin Wuhua. Lin couldn't help but be slightly startled when he saw the pure and beautiful girl in front of him. Lin Wuhua was Lin's girlfriend, whom he had met in university. In fact, they had only been together for a few days when Lin's family was in trouble. Lin Wuhua had left him after learning that he owed her a few $1,000,000. Regarding this matter, Lin actually did not have much prejudice. They hadn't known each other for long, and their feelings for each other were very thin. Who would be willing to live an endless life of debt repayment with a person who owed millions? Therefore, Lin had already let go of the past. He smiled at Lin Wuhua and said, "Yo, long time no see." He noticed the luxuriously dressed man next to Lin Wuhua. That man should be Lin Wuhua's current boyfriend, right? It seemed that the gaze he was looking at him wasn't very friendly. Lin Wuhua softly grunted. She looked at Lin and felt that Lin's temperament seemed to have become somewhat different. She hesitated for a moment, but still opened her mouth and said, "Actually, I was quite worried about you when you suddenly disappeared from school. How have you been recently?" In response to her greeting, Lin smiled. Just as he was about to reply, the man next to her said impatiently, "Wuhua, why are you wasting your breath on this person who owes millions of dollars? People like him will only be like that for the rest of their lives." The man noticed the way Lin Wuhua looked at Lin and felt very uncomfortable. He knew that Lin was Lin Wuhua's ex-boyfriend, and because of this relationship, he had some other thoughts. The man smiled disdainfully at Lin and said, "I really don't know how a person like you can still stand here so confidently. Just because Wu Hua is polite to you, You really think that you are someone important? Hearing this, Unlin was stunned. He thought to himself, is there something wrong with this man? What exactly is going on in this person's head? He's shooting off fists the moment they meet. In the end, he looked at Lin Wuhua with some sympathy and said, in any case, you are a student at Huaqing University. No matter how much you need a boyfriend, you don't have to find someone like him, right? Hearing this, Lin Wuhua's face also became somewhat red. It was unknown whether it was from shame or anger. What did you say? Hearing this, the man immediately exploded. Do you know who I am? I am now the boss of a company with assets of tens of millions of dollars. You are a person who is destined to never be able to make a comeback. What right do you have to talk about me here? The man glared angrily at Unlin and shouted loudly. Unlin still didn't say anything, but the gaze he looked at Lin Wuhua became even more sympathetic. That's enough, Gao Peng. Lin Wuhua's face was angry as she shouted to stop him. It was as if Gao Peng had eaten gunpowder today. He was targeting Unlin at every turn, making her feel somewhat embarrassed. However, Lin Wuhua's shout did not have any effect. Gao Peng had no intention of stopping at all. It seemed as if he was enjoying the feeling of targeting Unlin. Just as he was about to continue speaking, the sound of an emergency brake sounded near Unlin. A red Ferrari sports car just happened to stop right next to him. Under the sunlight, the car's body was covered with a faint halo, like a burning flower. The design of this Ferrari was very eye-catching, instantly attracting the attention of countless passers-by. Immediately after, the car door opened and a woman wearing a white t-shirt and denim shorts alighted from the car. The woman's slender and well-proportioned thighs were exposed, extremely dazzling. On top of the slender and graceful figure was a pure and flawless face that could turn all living things upside down. Her beauty was filled with youth and vitality, but also appeared noble and otherworldly. As soon as she appeared, she attracted the attention of all passers-by, even stealing the limelight of the Ferrari. Just like that, the woman walked to Unlin's side with a smile and said in a charming voice, "Hi, Unlin, I found you." This woman who suddenly appeared was Su Xiaolan. Seeing this scene, Lin Wuhua was extremely surprised. In her heart, she was puzzled as to why Unlin would know such a woman. She turned her head to look at Gao Peng and discovered that he was actually staring at the woman. His entire person was stunned. Seeing that he was so disappointing, Lin Wuhua couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Su Xiaolan looked at the two people in front of Unlin and asked curiously, "Are these two your friends?" Unlin smiled indifferently and introduced them. "This is Lin Wuhua, my ex-girlfriend. The one beside her is her current boyfriend, President Gao." Huh? Hearing this, Su Xiaolan was shocked. However, she quickly regained her senses and looked at the top of Unlin's head, where there was a faint green light. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, she smiled sweetly and held onto Unlin's arm with her pure white jade-like arm. Then, she looked at Lin Wuhua with interest and said with a smile, "Big brother, and I have to say, you must have been blind to actually like this kind of mediocre girl." "You? What did you say?" This was the first time that Lin Wuhua was called mediocre. She immediately became angry and looked at Su Xiaolan with shame and indignation. Actually, Lin Wuhua could already be considered a beauty. However, compared to the extremely dazzling Su Xiaolan, she was somewhat lacking. Comparing the two was like comparing a firefly to the bright moon. Therefore, although she was angry, she couldn't say anything. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded. "Hello, my name is Gao Peng. May I know your name, miss?" Gao Peng recovered from his shock, and actually took the initiative to extend his right hand. He spoke with a smile, as if he wanted to get to know her. Seeing this scene, Lin Wuhua almost fainted from anger. "Didn't you see that your girlfriend was just being bullied by her? What's wrong with you?" Su Xiaolan was slightly stunned, then her expression became even more interesting. She ignored Gao Peng's extended hand and said happily, "Haha, Big brother, and I didn't expect your ex-girlfriend to be even more blind. Lin Wuhua's body swayed, and she was so angry that she almost lost her balance. This was really a critical hit. At this moment, Gao Peng also came to his senses and withdrew his hand with a livid expression. Big brother, and do you still want to play house with these two insignificant people? Don't forget about the important matters. Su Xiaolan continued to hold on to Lin's arm and said in a sweet voice, looking like a little bird that was relying on its master. This scene was seen by many passers-by, and they looked at Lin with envy and jealousy. Hearing this, Lin also shook his head helplessly. Let's go, I just happened to pass by here. I didn't expect a clown to suddenly appear and keep performing there. Hearing this, Lin Wuhua's face flushed red. Gao Peng's body even trembled slightly, but he was unable to open his mouth to refute. Just the Ferrari Enzo that the girl was driving was worth 30 million. It was enough to buy 3 companies like his. And Lin was suspected to be her boyfriend. How could he be someone who owed a few million? One could imagine how laughable his words and actions were. Thinking back to Lin's previous calm expression, it seemed like the other party really was treating him like a clown. Gao Peng only wanted to find a hole to hide in now. This was too King embarrassing. Just like that, under the gaze of countless passers-by, Lin and Su Xiaolan got into the Ferrari. Under the scorching sun, they looked like a ball of red flames as they sped away on the road. Chapter 51. Inside the fiery red Ferrari, Su Xiaolan pursed her dainty lips and drove with an indifferent expression. However, her slender body was trembling slightly, as if she was trying to stifle her laughter. Lin wore a resigned expression upon seeing this. Laugh if you want to, why are you holding it in? Pft, haha, Su Xiaolan really burst into laughter. She didn't give Lin any face at all. You allowed me to laugh just now, so don't get angry, ha ha ha. Is it really that funny? Lin pursed his lips. Su Xiaolan used her slender hand as a microphone and placed it next to Lin's mouth with a smile. Then I'd like to interview Mr. Green Hatton. How did you feel at that time? Hey, that's too much. What Mr. Green Hatton? Lin glared at Su Xiaolan. Lin Wuhua and I were only boyfriend and girlfriend for a few days. We broke up because I owed a few million yuan. Green hat? That's impossible. What? You were only boyfriend and girlfriend for a few days? What kind of girlfriend is that? You still have the nerve to introduce her as your ex-girlfriend. Su Xiaolan shook her head. Lin blushed upon hearing this. I even held hands with her, why doesn't that count? Su Xiaolan snickered. Then you also held hands with me. Does that mean you can announce that I'm your cultivation partner in the future? Lin was speechless upon hearing this. If that's the case, then you probably don't care about what happened just now. Sigh, I put in so much effort to protect your dignity. Su Xiaolan was a little disappointed. Lin felt a warmth in his heart when he heard this. Regardless, I really have to thank you for what you did just now. Su Xiaolan chuckled and didn't say anything. Lin calmed himself down and turned his attention elsewhere. Then, he discovered something horrifying. Lon, when did you learn how to drive? Lin's eyes widened as he looked at the female driver next to him in shock. A faint smile appeared on Su Xiaolan's face. Just now. Just now? Lin swallowed a mouthful of saliva as he watched the smooth movements of the woman beside him. He could not help but fall into a trance. Was she trying to clear the female driver's name? With such terrifying talent, could he be the reincarnation of the racing god? Then this car is... Lin pointed at the Ferrari and asked. Oh, I want to learn how to drive, so I asked Jing Hongyi for a car. Then he gave me this car. The exterior of this car is quite handsome. It's even better than the cars on the road. I have to say that Jing Hongyi has good taste. Su Xiaolan rarely praised. Lin was speechless. This was not a matter of taste, dear. How could a sports car worth tens of millions and a car worth hundreds of thousands be the same? But then again, Zheng Hongyi was really generous. He could let Su Xiaolan, a person who had never touched a car before, drive this kind of limited edition sports car. He was really impressed. What are you going to do next? I'll give you a ride, Su Xiaolan said. Let's go to the International Shopping Center next. I still need to buy a few hundred pieces of clothing and jewelry, Enlin replied. Huh? Don't tell me you want to open a clothing store and jewelry store. Su Xiaolan looked at Enlin in surprise. A smile appeared on Enlin's face, and he told Su Xiaolan everything about how he had helped his upperclassmen shop for them. Su Xiaolan nodded with a smile on her face. I didn't think you would have such a good head for business. Of course, Enlin said proudly. He then said, Do you need spirit stones now? I have 30,000 spirit stones. I don't have any use for them now. How about I give them to you? Enlin had received many favors from Su Xiaolan, but he never had the chance to repay her. Now he wanted to take this opportunity to show off. Spirit stones. Su Xiaolan shrugged. I don't need them. Plus, you worked so hard to save up, how can I take them? Enlin was a little disappointed, but he didn't give up. He continued, Is there anything in particular that you want? Something in particular. Su Xiaolan rubbed her chin with one hand and pondered. Enlin wore an expectant expression as he waited for Su Xiaolan to speak. Unfortunately, even after thinking for a quarter of an hour, she still couldn't figure out anything. Just as Enlin was about to fall into despair again, a sweet voice sounded from within the car. Master, Master, Little Red knows what Sister Lanlan wants. A bright red head popped out from Enlin's pocket and said. Little Red was nourished by Enlin's profound qi and broke free from the restraints of its root. It started to transform and had a certain amount of mobility. Oh? Tell me. Enlin's eyes lit up. At this moment, Su Xiaolan also turned toward Xiao Hong. She was a little curious about Xiao Hong's answer. Little Red shook its head. Women are like flowers, flowers are like dreams. Giving flowers to women is a very romantic thing. It will make them feel happy from the bottom of their hearts. Enlin's eyelids twitched. So you mean, Little Red said excitedly, Master, why don't you give me to Sister Lanlan? As long as it's for you, I can sell my body without any regrets. Enlin's face twitched when he heard this. Su Xiaolan couldn't help but burst out laughing. Let's not talk about this terrible line first. Is staying by my side that bad? Enlin pinched Little Red's head and said angrily. Ayaya. Little Red felt a little pain from the pinch and hurriedly apologized. No. Little Red doesn't want to leave Master. Little Red just wants to share Master's burden. Ayaya. Enlin snorted. He didn't want to waste time talking to it. He directly put this annoying vixen into his pocket. Su Xiaolan covered her mouth and chuckled. After a while she said, We're here. An eye-catching Ferrari was parked in the parking lot at the side of the International Shopping Center, attracting the attention of countless people. Immediately after, the scene of a handsome man and a beautiful woman getting out of the car shocked everyone to the point that their jaws dropped to the ground. The two extraordinary-looking people, each holding a big sack, walked into the shopping center in a hurry. Their first stop was the jewelry store. The shopping attendants of the jewelry store were all frightened when they saw the two of them walk into the store with a sack in their hand. When you were selling jewelry and saw someone carrying a sack in an aggressive manner, what would you think of at the first moment? Of course it was robbery. Especially the man in the lead. He pointed at the jewelry in the cabinet and said in a clear voice, Take these. Take them all out. Just this sentence scared a few female shopping attendants to the point of trembling. Some of them even moved their hands to the alarm. However, at this moment, the man took out a card and threw it on the counter. Why are you guys still in a daze? Hurry up and cooperate with me to take the jewelry. I'm very busy. Seeing this, a beautiful shopping attendant stopped the alarm and asked hesitantly, Sir, are you going to pay by card? Nonsense. If I don't pay by card, are you saying that I'm robbing you? The man rolled his eyes at her. The shopping attendant's heart raced. "Sir, I really thought you were going to rob me." When the shopping attendants heard what the man said, they all let out a sigh of relief and calmed down. "Then, sir, what are you going to do with this sack?" another shopping attendant asked curiously. "Of course I'm going to fill this sack," the man said disapprovingly. Fill it?" Everyone stared at the man in bewilderment. "Have you seen people buy jewelry in a sack? This is jewelry, not rice." The shopping attendants finally calmed down, but at this moment, they were on tenterhooks again. As expected. "Let's call the police." The man came back to his senses. "Oh no, I'm not going to fill this sack." When the shopping attendants heard this, their hearts relaxed. "So sir was joking? Because there's still a sack. I might have to fill 2 sacks." The man pointed at the woman behind him. All they saw was the woman holding the sack in her hands with a smile, looking eager to try. All the shopping attendants. Just like that, the jewelry store's shopping attendants were ruined by Enlin and Su Xiaolan. Chapter 52. "Help me wrap up this pearl necklace, yes, this row. Take out all the masonry necklaces in this cabinet too. I want 100 silver bracelets. Yes, this model." "What? Not that many? Such a big jewelry store, what's he doing?" "Hey Xiaolan, that jade Buddha is also on the list, throw it into the sack." The salesperson was busy taking out the jewelry from the cabinet. For the first time, they realized that selling jewelry could be so satisfying. They didn't need to persuade the customers to buy it, they just needed to take it out from the cabinet. This feeling was so satisfying. If it weren't for the man who put the bank card with a balance of 1 billion on the counter, they would have thought that they were helping a robber. The beautiful manager of the jewelry store stuck close to Enlin and helped him carry the sack with a charming smile. When she thought of the ridiculous sales and the huge commission after this business was over, her smile became even more charming. She forcefully opened the burlap bag, hoping to fill it with more. This feeling was so good. Enlin also experienced what it felt like to be a tycoon. He tossed one valuable piece of jewelry after another into the sack, as if they were cabbages on the market. This feeling was amazing. The outside of the jewelry store was crowded with onlookers. They looked at the shocking scene in the jewelry store and were shocked to the point that they were a little sluggish. If it weren't for the happy smiles on the faces of the salesperson and manager, they would have thought that the jewelry store had been robbed. They're all buying jewelry, but why is there such a big difference between them? You've grown up. So this is how rich people buy things. I've seen a lot of rich people, but I've never seen such a crazy rich person who buys jewelry. He's so generous. Could it be that Prince Wang Tsong? Impossible, the man in front is so much more handsome than Prince Wang. Oh my God, I really want to run over and ask that handsome nouveau riche if he needs a pendant. Don't daydream. Didn't you see the beautiful manager of the jewelry store? She follows the man wherever he goes. She's already taken the spot for a pendant. Soon, Enlin and Su Xiaolan looted almost all the jewelry in the jewelry store. Ah no, it was sold out. Then, Enlin and Su Xiaolan put the whole bag of jewelry into the car under the cheers of many shopping guides and onlookers. Along the way, the scene was unusually lively, just like a big star appearing in a shopping mall. After returning to the car, Enlin began to store the jewelry into his storage ring. In reality, the cultivators of the Kingdom of the Nine States didn't really care much about jewelry from the mortal world. They only asked Enlin to help them purchase it out of curiosity. They were produced in the mortal world and were made with the unique craftsmanship of the mortal world. They were the local specialties of the mortal world. It was like an interesting and good-looking souvenir that could be taken out and played with when one was bored. Very few people would wear it on their body all the time. It was also because of this that their requirements for jewelry were much lower. They generally didn't care about the style or quality of the jewelry. For example, a brick necklace. They only wanted the necklace to have a brick on it. They didn't care about the style or even how many carats the brick should be. Thus, Enlin didn't have to worry about it. However, the following clothing purchase was more difficult. The clothing of the mortal world was more trendy and was deeply loved by some cultivators. Some cultivators would wear some clothing from the mortal world when they went out. Although there weren't many clothes on the list, the requirements for each item were not low. Brand, type, size, style, everything had to be considered, and Lin looked at the list in his hand and massaged his brows in distress. Being a shopping agent was not an easy job. However, he had already accepted the spirit stones, so he could only grit his teeth and carry on. Just like that, Lin and Su Xiaolan rushed into the international shopping center again. This time, the difficulty of purchasing clothes increased exponentially. Firstly, the mission itself was not easy. Secondly, it was because of Su Xiaolan. She happened to be interested in the clothing of the mortal world and wanted to buy a few sets to bring back to the cultivation world to wear. Lin originally thought that it was just a few sets of clothes and that it would be a matter of minutes. However, he still underestimated Su Xiaolan's shopping philosophy. Lin, do you think this dress that I'm wearing looks good? It looks very good. I'll buy this one. There's no hurry. Let's look at the other clothes first. Lin, what do you think of this t-shirt I'm wearing? Wow. It's youthful and energetic. Great. Hurry up and buy it. But this color doesn't feel bright enough. Let's walk around a bit more. Lin, look at this floral top. What do you think of it? It matches you very well. You look like a flower fairy when you wear it. You can't miss it. Really? But I think this pattern is a bit messy. Let's look at the other styles first. Lin, look at this. It's great. Lin, look at this. Lin, I'm wearing this. Lin, this looks good. Why don't you buy this? Lin's eyes lit up when he realized what was going on. Okay. Buy. Hurry up and buy. He sat up in shock. Afraid that Su Xiaolan would go back on her words, he grabbed the clothes and ran to pay the bill. The shop assistant watched as Lin rushed to pay the bill. She couldn't help but say to Su Xiaolan enviously, "Your boyfriend is so good. I've never seen such a proactive man." Su Xiaolan's fair and delicate face was full of pride. She said, "I've only bought one shirt. My plan was to buy 5. He still has a long way to go." Lin had just paid the bill and came back in high spirit. When he heard this, his legs immediately turned to jelly and he knelt down. In the evening, the shopping trip finally came to an end. He had only completed 1/5 of his clothing procurement plan. His original plan was to complete half of it, but an accident occurred. As for this accident, you know what it is. Su Xiaolan bought 5 clothes and a luxurious evening gown. Tonight, Yang Shanshan had organized a ball and invited the top political and business elites of the southwest region. The purpose of this ball was to let these people get to know Lin and the others. This way, if anything happened in the future, they would be able to do their best to cooperate with Lin and the others on their missions. For this ball, Lin also bought a tuxedo. Although it was his first time wearing this kind of clothing, he had a good figure and a handsome face. Coupled with the unique otherworldly aura of a cultivator, he gave off an extraordinarily handsome feeling at first glance. As for Su Xiaolan, she would look like a goddess even if she was given a linen gown. Thus, the question of whether the clothes would match was completely non-existent to her. Night fell. The Ferrari roared as it sped toward White Jade Palace. White Jade Palace was a private clubhouse. It got its name because the main building was a small white palace. The ball for Lin and the others was being held in this White Jade Palace. Chapter 53. Night fell and the sky was dotted with stars. Dozens of luxury cars of different styles were parked outside a manor surrounded by mountains and rivers. In the manor surrounded by green mountains and clear waters, there was a palace made of white brick. The palace was brightly lit and soothing music was playing. Influential figures from all over the Southwest were gathered here. There were big shots in politics, top tycoons in the business world, and leaders of some famous families. They were all invited here by Zheng Hongbang, the head of the Zheng family. Mayor Lu, you're here too? A fat man saw a middle-aged man wearing glasses in front of him and hurriedly put on a smile to greet him. The middle-aged man smiled faintly when he saw the fat man. This time, I'm just accompanying Mayor Qin. The fat man was shocked when he heard that. He did not expect Mayor Qin to be attending this ball. One had to know that Mayor Qin was a deputy provincial-level official. He was usually calm and upright, and rarely attended such social events. What matter did the Jing family's patriarch have to invite him to come as well? The fat man's name was Wei Ronghui. He was a big real estate businessman in the country and had recently acquired a sizable piece of land in Chengdu. This was a rare opportunity to meet Mayor Qin, so he immediately wondered if he should take this opportunity to get closer to him. Wei Ronghui chatted with Deputy Mayor Lu for a while before walking toward Mayor Qin. Then, he saw a well-built man in his 40s standing silently to the side. This person looks familiar. Wei Ronghui walked over and looked at the front. Holy shit! Isn't this the head of the Provincial Public Security Department, Zhou Jing? Isn't he busy with the strange deaths in Huangxi village? Why is he in the mood to attend this ball? Wei Ronghui was shocked. He recalled what Zheng Hongyi said when he invited him to the ball. It seemed that he wanted to introduce a few people to everyone at the ball. Thinking of this, his beady eyes, which were almost squeezed into slits by his fat, looked around. Could it be some big shot? At this moment, 3 young people also walked into the scene of the ball. The leader was a tall and thin man. After looking around the scene, a smile appeared on his face. Following behind him was a beautiful woman with long hair and a man with a smug smile on his face. Wu Hua, those who attend this ball are all big shot. Be careful with your words and actions, the man warned. Behind the tall and thin man were Lin Wuhua and Gao Peng. Lin Wuhua nodded solemnly at Gao Peng's warning. Originally, they were not qualified to attend a ball of this level. The reason they had the opportunity to come here was all because of young Master Zheng. This Lord Zheng was Zheng Yong, the son of the host of the ball, Zheng Hongyi. He and Gao Peng were university classmates and could be considered good friends. It was also because of this relationship that Gao Peng had the opportunity to bring Lin Wuhua to this ball. Gao Peng looked around at the big shots around him. His eyes were burning with passion. If he could establish a relationship with them, his company would definitely be able to take a big leap forward. Most of the people at the ball would smile and nod at Zheng Yong when they saw him, and some would even greet him. The socialites around him also looked at Zheng Yong with anticipation in their eyes. From time to time, Zheng Yong would also size up these young ladies who came from prestigious families. Although there were many beautiful ones, he didn't particularly like any of them. He was tired of seeing so many women. Looking at ordinary beauties now was no different from looking at ordinary people. It was difficult for him to reignite his passion. However, at this time, a figure appeared in his field of vision, causing him to freeze on the spot. Zheng Yong was dumbfounded. The woman in the red evening gown gave him an unprecedented shock. He had never seen such a beautiful and dazzling woman. She had a perfect body and a face that could topple cities. She was so beautiful that she overwhelmed the crowd. Seeing Zheng Yong suddenly freeze, Gao Peng followed his gaze and exclaimed, "It's them." Hearing Gao Peng's voice, Zheng Yong reacted. He turned around and asked, "Gao Peng, do you know them?" Gao Peng nodded. "I only met them once. I only know one man. His name is Lin, and he is a student. As for the other man and woman, I don't know them." Gao Peng purposely hid the fact that the woman seemed to be close to Lin from Zheng Yong. He had sensed Zheng Yong's interest in the woman. It made sense. Anyone would be moved by such a noble and beautiful woman. Gao Peng knew Zheng Yong's character very well. If he had his eyes on a prey, he would do anything to get it. Now, all he needed to do was wait and watch the show. Zheng Yong began to size up the 3 people. All 3 of them were unfamiliar faces. They looked very young, and their temperament was extraordinary. They should be from some famous family. Oil Lu served the wine. Zheng Yong beckoned. Immediately after, a butler came up with a tray of wine and handed over 2 glasses of red wine that had been prepared beforehand with experienced movements. This red wine was no ordinary wine. It was the passion wine brewed by the Heaven Divination cult. It had a strong, alluring effect. Zheng Yong was a person who didn't want to waste time on relationships. Whoever he liked, it was a matter of a glass of wine. Holding the glass, he stared at the woman with a burning gaze. He thought to himself, I must get my hands on her tonight. Zheng Hongyi and Huang Shanshan had to leave for a while to receive a guest who had suddenly arrived. Therefore, after Enlin, Su Xiaolan, and Xianyuan Qing met up, they began to stroll around the ball. Hello, my name is Zheng Yong. Welcome to the ball. Suddenly, a tall, thin man appeared in front of them with a glass of wine in his hand. Hello, my name is Enlin. Enlin replied politely to the man who suddenly came to strike up a conversation. Following that, Xianyuan Qing and Su Xiaolan also introduced themselves. Zheng Yong, who had originally planned to have a drink with the stunning beauty, was shocked when he heard their names. He was in a bad mood. He remembered what his father told him before he went out. Little Yong, there will be 3 people specially sent by the country to attend this ball. Their names are Enlin, Su Xiaolan, and Xianyuan Qing. This ball is for them. Remember, you're nothing but a grandson in front of them. Don't neglect them. Zheng Yong knew what Zheng Hongyi's words meant. These 3 people had powerful backgrounds. They were not people he could afford to offend. Oh my God! I actually wanted to make that woman drink the passion wine. The more Zheng Yong thought about it, the more scared he became. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Brother Zheng, what's wrong? Enlin noticed something was wrong with Zheng Yong's expression and asked concernedly. Zheng Yong regained his senses and apologized. I'm not feeling well all of a sudden. I'm sorry, I'll be taking my leave. He just wanted to take the wine away and leave this place as soon as possible. This wine was like a ticking time bomb that kept him on tenterhook. Hey, this wine looks good. Enlin noticed the red wine on the butler's tray, and he picked it up. Damn it. Zheng Yong's body swayed when he saw this. Come on, it's fate that we met. Let's have a toast. Enlin smiled and raised his glass. Zheng Yong really wanted to smash the glass of wine in his right hand when he heard this. Have a toast? Then make Enlin fall in love with him? What a joke. The conversation between Zheng Yong, Enlin, and the others attracted the attention of many people at the ball. Gao Ping, who was in the crowd, was confused. He didn't understand what was going on. Why did Zheng Yong, who was full of confidence before, suddenly become a coward? Seeing Zheng Yong hesitate, Enlin narrowed his eyes and asked, What's wrong? Are you not feeling well and can't drink? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm really not feeling well right now. When I've recovered, I'll definitely drink with you, brother En. Zheng Yong said immediately, following Enlin's words. Don't worry, I have a way to cure your discomfort. Enlin smiled faintly. Brother En, you know medicine? Zheng Yong was a little uneasy. Yes, it's called physical therapy. Enlin smiled. He suddenly raised his right hand and slapped Zheng Yong's face with the force of the wind. Slap. The loud sound of the slap reverberated throughout the ball. Zheng Yong was sent flying 2 meters away by the huge force of the slap. 2 of his teeth were also knocked out by the slap. He spat out blood and rolled on the ground. Half of his face was swollen from the slap. Gasp. Many of the people who were secretly observing Enlin and the others drew sharp intakes of breath upon seeing this with incredulity on their faces. Gao Peng's eyes were wide open, dumbfounded. Holy **T. What's going on? Why did Enlin hit Zheng Yong in public? Enlin turned around and smiled at the dazed Xianyuan Qing and Su Xiaolan. Yes, when dealing with scum like him, if you can use your fists, try not to use your mouth. Chapter 54. When Zheng Yong was slapped, The noise was so loud that most of the people at the ball heard the commotion and rushed over to watch. Then, they heard a sentence that made them even more dumbfounded. When dealing with scum like him, if you can use your fists, try not to use your mouth. The crowd was shocked once again. Some people even felt that this sentence was ridiculous. Was this person crazy? Not only did he hit someone, but he also scolded them after hitting them? What exactly happened? Did they miss out on some plot? Why did the two of them suddenly hit each other when they were talking nicely at the beginning? Even those who had been paying attention to them from the beginning to the end had a blank look on their faces. Xian Yuanqing fell silent after hearing Enlin's words. Then, he nodded in agreement and said, "Enlin, what you said makes sense." A smile appeared on Su Xiaolan's face, and she didn't say anything. When the celebrities from all over the world saw that the other two did not show any remorse or apology, and instead expressed their approval, they couldn't help but widen their eyes. So it wasn't just one person who had gone crazy, but all three of them. Jing Yong fell to the ground, his body trembling. He stared at Enlin with his eyes wide open. He was stunned by that slap. Ever since he was a child, his status was so noble that no one had ever scolded him, let alone hit him. But now, this person in front of him had slapped him in public and called him scum. He had never been humiliated like this before. He was so angry that his body trembled. However, due to his status, he couldn't do anything. Lin Wuhua looked at Enlin, who was surrounded in the center, with a worried look on her face. Gao Peng, on the other hand, was ecstatic. Even though things had progressed a little beyond his expectations, it seemed like Enlin's fate was going to be even more miserable, and this satisfied him with a certain twisted sense of satisfaction. Soon, a slightly plump man also squeezed in. What happened? Why are there so many people surrounding him? When the crowd saw the newcomer, their expressions became even more interesting. Fine, after my son was beaten, I came. The newcomer was Zheng Yong's father, Zheng Hongyi, the master of the Jing family, the #1 family in the southwest. Some people seemed to have already seen the tragic end of Enlin and the others, shaking their heads and sighing. Zheng Hongyi looked at Jing Yong, who was lying on the ground with one side of his face swollen like a pig's head. Then, he saw Enlin and the other two surrounded by the crowd. He couldn't help but be stunned. Enlin gently swirled the wine glass in his hand. The red wine looked extremely bright under the light. Discipline your son well. Don't let him use fake wine to harm people again. Zheng Hongyi heard Enlin's words and looked at the red wine in Enlin's hand. The quick-witted him immediately guessed the ins and outs of the matter. He took a deep breath, lowered his head and walked to Jing Yong's side. "Dad!" Jing Yong's face was filled with fear. "But..." Another slap resounded through the entire ball. Jing Hongyi raised his hand high, his whole body trembling. That wasn't the end of it. Jing Hongyi punched and kicked Jing Yong, who was on the ground. "You idiot, do you know what you've done? You better King remember this and repent." Jing Hongyi cursed as he punched and kicked Jing Yong on the ground. He knew that the more he hit and cursed, the higher his son's chances of survival would be. This scene stunned everyone in the ball. Some people thought they were seeing things and kept rubbing their eyes. "Oh my God! Is Zheng Hongyi crazy? It's those 3 people who are beating up your son. Shouldn't you be teaching them a lesson? Why are you beating up your own son?" Zheng Hongyi was serious this time. Every punch landed on flesh, and the sound of collision could be heard clearly by the crowd. After a while, he seemed to be tired and shouted at the housekeeper, "Old Lu, drag this unfilial son out and continue beating him until his legs are broken." The housekeeper looked at Jing Hongyi in a daze, unable to react. At this time, Jing Hongyi shouted again, "What are you waiting for? Go!" Housekeeper Lu was startled by this shout and quickly called the security guards to carry the bruised and swollen Zheng Yong away. "Old Zheng, I hope you're not joking when you say break his legs." At this moment, a tall and slender woman in a black evening dress walked over with a frosty expression and spoke in a cold voice. She was Huang Shanshan, who had rushed over with Zheng Hongyi. Huang Shanshan also noticed that there was something wrong with the wine in Enlin's hand. These medicines could fool ordinary people, but cultivators with a certain level of cultivation could see through it at a glance. Don't worry, Zheng Hongyi, always do what I say. Zheng Hongyi's expression was resolute. He then walked toward Enlin and bowed in apology. I'm really sorry, I didn't teach my son well. Are you all satisfied with the way I've dealt with that unfilial son? Enlin nodded. It's SOSO. Tell your son to restrain himself in the future. Otherwise, the next thing I break will be his third leg. How could Enlin not know what Jing Yong was thinking before? He wanted to drug Su Xiaolan? Although he would never succeed, just the thought alone was enough for Enlin to not tolerate. Enlin did not go too hard on Zheng Hongyi only because of Zheng Hongyi. Zheng Hongyi trembled when he heard this. He knew that his son's life was saved. He immediately said excitedly, I can't thank you enough for your magnanimity. Everyone at the ball felt like they were dreaming when they saw this scene. Someone had beaten up his son, and he still had to help them beat him up. Then, he still had to thank them. Gao Peng was also shocked and almost lost his balance. What on earth happened? He couldn't understand at all. Some people were confused, but some people who were clear-minded quickly understood. The fake wine-harming people that Enlin mentioned might be the main point of this incident. It was very likely that there was a problem with Zheng Yong's wine. After discovering the fake wine, Zheng Hongyi's way of dealing with it and the way he addressed them as special envoy showed that the three people's identities were not simple. Perhaps they were the people that Zheng Hongyi was going to introduce to everyone tonight. Sure enough, after dealing with Zheng Yong's matter, Zheng Hongyi solemnly introduced Enlin, Xianyuan Qing, and Su Xiaolan to everyone present. The three of them were now special envoys from the central government's Special Case Handling Department. The people present did not really understand this identity, but when Huang Shanshan took out a top-secret letter, they understood it. The content of the letter stated that all government officials in the southwestern region, upon seeing this letter, must provide as many convenient conditions as possible for the special envoys to carry out their tasks. After everyone finished reading the letter, they all looked at the three young men in shock. The effectiveness of this letter was even effective against the provincial party secretary. If the letter was true, then the background and identity of these three people were simply too high. The people at the ball finally began to understand Zheng Hongyi's actions. All of his illogical actions were explained at this moment. When Gao Peng saw this letter, he stood dumbfounded on the spot. He had never imagined that the purpose of this ball was to make it more convenient for Enlin and the others to carry out their task. These famous bigwigs were all here to communicate with Enlin and the others. He really felt that he was going crazy. He had actually mocked such a person before, secretly plotting against him. He really didn't want to live anymore. Lin Wuhua was even more dazed. Enlin was still a student at Huaqing University last year. Didn't he get into debt and drop out? How did he suddenly become a special envoy from the central government? To be able to make all the bigwigs in the southwestern region cooperate with him, how much power did he have? Lin Wuhua felt that Su Xiaolan was right. She really was blind. She looked at Gao Peng, who was about to go crazy, and then looked at Enlin, who was chatting and laughing with the crowd in the middle of the ball. Regret surged in her heart. But in the end, she could only sigh helplessly. Because if she had to make a choice again without knowing the truth, she would probably still make the same choice. Chapter 55. The purpose of this ball was to let Enlin and the others familiarize themselves with the celebrities from all over the Southwest, which would make things easier in the future. Enlin and the others couldn't divulge the specifics of their mission. Only Mayor Qin, Zheng Hongyi, and Department Director Zhou Jing knew the gist of the mission. Thus, they could only converse with the rest of the people here. Soon, they felt a little bored and found a table to sit down at. These complicated interactions were left to Huang Shanshan and Zheng Hongyi to handle. As soon as Su Xiaolan and Xianyuan Qing sat down, they took out their phones and started playing with them. The temptation of phones wasn't just for humans. Even cultivators would be addicted to the rich variety of functions inside. Su Xiaolan was excitedly browsing through Jingdong and Taobao. The girl's shopping instincts were burning. Xianyuan Qing was using his phone to search for all kinds of cutting-edge electronic products, advanced mechanical products, and even military weapons of various countries. Whether it was theoretical knowledge or construction models, they were all within the scope of his research. He looked like a top student in science and technology. Anlin heaved a forlorn sigh upon seeing this. Others came to the ball to socialize and dance. But you guys were playing with your phones. Just a moment ago we were still acting like we were the heavens. We were the ones who shocked the entire audience. Although we're now behind the scenes, we still have to act like we're the best, right? Browsing Taobao, looking at blueprints. Is this really normal? Anlin sighed. Then, he took out his phone and started playing Arena of Valor. He chose Zhuge Liang. Compared to Li Bai, who was a hero who was good at picking up girls, he preferred Zhuge Liang, who was agile, handsome, and adaptable. Some of the daughters of famous families at the ball began to have feelings for Anlin when he was in the limelight. They couldn't help but steal glances at him. Some of the girls finally mustered up the courage to invite him for a dance, only to find that he was sitting on a chair and playing with his phone. "What is young master and playing?" A pretty girl secretly asked her female companion next to her. "It's too far. I can't see clearly. However, I feel that every single move of a mighty figure like young master and must have a profound meaning behind it. It's best if we don't disturb him," his female companion said solemnly. "That's true. It looks like he's really busy." "Sigh, what a pity!" The woman sighed and gave up on the idea of hitting on him. At that moment, Anlin, who was in high spirits, had yet to realize that playing games could ruin his life. His battle had already entered a white-hot stage. The defense towers of both sides had been destroyed, and only the last big crystal was left. In the 5v5 team battle, 4 of the enemies and their teammates had died. Only Anlin's Zhuge Liang and the enemy's Han Xian were still alive. The outcome of this battle would directly determine the outcome of the entire competition. Zhuge Liang and Han Xian both had a quarter of their HP left. Anlin wanted to pull away from Han Xian and wait for 8 seconds. When Zhuge Liang's ultimate move was ready, he would instantly kill Han Xian. However, he had still underestimated Han Xian's mobility. Han Xian leaped to the front of Zhuge Liang and flicked his spear, followed by a series of rapid and violent moves. Zhuge Liang's HP was low, and he was caught off guard. "Idiot! Can't you just teleport to Han Xian and use Easterly Strike? Why do you have to wait for the primordial bomb?" Just as Anlin's Zhuge Liang was killed by Han Xian, a crisp voice sounded in his ear. Anlin raised his head to find an adorable girl with short chestnut-colored hair staring at his phone screen and giving him pointers. Of course, he knew that this girl was right. However, as a grown man, he felt a little embarrassed to be scolded by a girl. He immediately said with slight annoyance, "Where did this little brat come from? Go play somewhere else." "Me? Little brat?" The girl pointed at her face, her bright eyes widened, and her chest rose and fell violently. Ah no, she didn't have breasts. Anlin also knew that it was impolite to speak like this, so he changed the way he said, "Where did this little lowly come from? Go find your parents." When the girl heard Anlin's words, her chest immediately tightened. She was very angry, and she raised her voice and said angrily, "Listen up, I'm 18 years old this year. I'm already an adult." Anlin looked at the girl's petite body and blinked. The pink evening dress on her, even though it was a small size, still looked loose, revealing her crystal white shoulders. The dress had a low collar, but even so, her chest still looked very flat. "Okay. I believe you." Unlin nodded. When the girl heard Unlin's words, she had just revealed a satisfied expression, but she was so angry at Unlin's next words that she almost fainted. You're a legal loli. Are you satisfied now? Unlin added. Satisfied? Satisfied my ass. Will you die if you don't say the next sentence? The girl felt that if she continued to talk to Unlin like this, she might actually vomit blood. She immediately chose to go straight to the point. Hello, my name is Tian Lingling. Big Sister Shanshan recommended me to help you carry out your mission. Oh, hello, my name is Unlin. A hint of disappointment flashed across Unlin's face. He had thought that this girl was attracted by his handsome figure when he was playing the game. Now it looked like he was overthinking things. Unlin stopped Su Xiaolan and Xian Yuan Cheng from playing with their phones and introduced Tian Lingling to them. Huang Shanshan belonged to the National Special Operations Department, which was a military force, while Tian Lingling represented the Hua Nation's cultivation world. Both of these forces would assist Unlin and the others in carrying out their mission. The guest that Huang Shanshan and Zheng Hongyi had gone out to greet earlier was Tian Lingling. Tian Lingling had reached the 8th stage Dao body at the age of 18, which made her a prodigy even in the Kingdom of the Nine States. On Earth, her aptitude was even more top-notch, so she didn't hold back or be polite to Unlin and the others. Unlin didn't mind, of course. What was the point of bickering with a brat? Hey! Unlin, dance with me! Tian Lingling blinked her bright eyes at him and spoke with great anticipation. You! Unlin looked Tian Lingling up and down, and an almost imperceptible hint of disdain appeared on his face. I refuse. What a joke, asking him to dance with a little loli at a ball. What a weird scene. He would be mistaken for a weird uncle. Tian Lingling stomped her foot in anger at Unlin's straightforward refusal. After a long while, she calmed down and continued, Hey! Unlin, do you have WeChat? I do, I'm not a caveman, of course I don't have WeChat. Unlin pursed his lips. Tian Lingling chuckled, then pulled out her phone and opened the QR code. Her purpose was self-evident. Unlin didn't mind adding her on WeChat, it would be easier for him to contact her in the future, so he cooperated and added Tian Lingling as a friend. Beep beep beep. A message came from Unlin's WeChat. It was a smiley face from Tian Lingling. He looked up at Tian Lingling and also sent her a smiley face. Unlin was a little speechless. Was texting each other on their phones a new way of playing in the mortal world? Beep beep beep. Another message came from WeChat. Tian Lingling invites you to join the All Cultivators of the World Unite to Protect Earth group. Unlin's eyes widened when he saw the name of the group, and he turned to look at Tian Lingling. Tian Lingling explained with a smile. This is the top cultivator group of the Hua Nation, and it's also your support team for this mission. Unlin was still dumbstruck. What a weird group name. Was it really a group created by cultivators? All cultivators of the world unite to protect Earth? Did they think they were Ultraman? Unlin was a little speechless, but he still joined the group. However, he soon felt like he had joined a fake cultivator group. Chapter 56. System Notification. Fake Taoist priest Little and has joined the group. However, this group seemed to be talking about something explosive, and the news of Unlin joining the group was immediately pushed away. Unlin was happy to be invisible, and he began to observe the group with interest. Taoist Wooden Ox. I don't believe that the next double-colored ball will be this number. Crack Shot Clairvoyant. It's up to you whether you want to believe it or not. These types of dream divinations are so accurate that even I'm scared of them. I've been staring at lottery tickets every night, and I've only dreamt of double-colored ball after so long. I've already bought 100 bets, and I'm going to empty the prize pool. Unlin, Dreamy Voice Fairy, you don't say. Crack Shot Clairvoyant's dream divinations are indeed very accurate. Last time, he dreamt that he went to the East Sea, encountered an earthquake, and was drowned by a tsunami. He was so scared that he wet his bed. A few days later, there really was a magnitude 9 earthquake and tsunami off the coast of Japan. At least Crackshot Clairvoyant gave Wooden Ox a chance to buy 10 bet. What kind of person would say no to money? Crackshot Clairvoyant. Hey, even if you're praising me, don't use my dark history of wetting my bed as an example. Atomic Bomb Fairy sent a smiley emoji. Your master was the one who exposed your bedwetting history. It's not a secret, and everyone in the group knows about it. What's there to be shy about? Unlin, everyone knows about it? I don't know about it. Do immortals wet their bed too? Even if they wet their bed from fear, that's too unreliable. Crackshot Clairvoyant. Forget it, Taoist Wooden Ox doesn't want it. I'll give this chance to the Savior. At the Savior, are you there? Golden Jade. The Savior went to America to steal cutting-edge military technology. He's not free. Crackshot Clairvoyant sent a horrified emoji. The last time he went to the United States, he secretly tampered with their nuclear missile launch program and added a formation to the nuclear missile silo. What is he trying to do this time? Golden Jade sent a smiley emoji. I don't know. Some of the cultivators in the group sent emojis of cold sweat, while others sent emojis of laughter. As for Enlin, he was completely dumbfounded. Tampering with the nuclear launchers program? Adding an array to a nuclear missile silo? Stealing the most advanced military technology? F***CK. Are these cultivators really here to protect the Earth? Are they really not here to destroy the Earth together? Enlin felt like he had entered a fake cultivator group. He silently moved his hand to the Leave This Group button. At this moment, a message suddenly popped up in the group. Tian Lingling. Let's stop chatting and welcome our new group member, Fake Taoist Priest Littlein. Dreamy Voice Fairy. Oh, I just saw the news of him joining the group, but I didn't get the chance to ask. May I ask which sect this new fellow Taoist is from? Those who were able to enter the chat group of the top cultivators in China were not weak. That was why Dreamy Voice Fairy asked such a question. Since someone in the group had asked him a question, Enlin naturally had to reply. Fake Taoist Priest Littlein. If it's a sect, does the Celestial Court count? Dreamy Voice Fairy. Crackshot Clairvoyant. Taoist Wooden Ox. Atomic Bomb Fairy. Golden Jade, who had always been concise, couldn't help but ask, could it be that fellow Taoist is from the Celestial Court? Fake Taoist Priest Littlein. That's right. Crackshot Clairvoyant. Holy F***CK. The Immortal Ambassador is here. He then seemed to realize something and immediately corrected himself. Wait. Welcome to our group, Immortal Ambassador. Dreamy Voice Fairy. Welcome, Immortal Ambassador. Atomic Bomb Fairy. Welcome, Immortal Ambassador. Golden Jade. Welcome, Immortal Ambassador. Enlightened Lazarite. Welcome, Immortal Ambassador. Countless lurking group members began to appear in formation to begin the welcoming ceremony. There were over 100 cultivators in this chat group, and at this moment, almost half of them were exposed by the explosion. The others were probably in seclusion or doing something else, so they didn't appear. Enlin was startled by the enthusiasm of the group members. Cultivators from the Celestial Court often descended to the mortal world to carry out missions, and it was not uncommon for them to communicate with cultivators from the Hua Nation military and the mortal world. Were they always this enthusiastic? What he didn't know was that Tian Lingling had invited him into the group on a whim. In the past, cultivators dispatched by the Celestial Court either didn't like to use WeChat, or felt that there was no need to rely on the power of cultivators from the mortal world, so they very rarely joined the group. There hadn't been a single person invited into the group like Enlin every year. Enlightened Lazarite. May I know your Taoist name? Although many cultivators in the group used Taoist names as nicknames, this fake Taoist Priest Littlein clearly wasn't a Taoist name. Enlin blinked. He really hadn't considered the issue of a Taoist name before. Fake Taoist Priest Littlein. I don't have a Taoist name, just call me Enlin. Crackshot clairvoyant. No problem, no problem. Seniorin, this is your first time in the mortal world, right? If there's anything you don't understand, feel free to ask us. We'll be sure to answer your questions patiently. All of the cultivators in the group nodded in agreement, clearly regarding Enlin as a transcendent immortal. Fake Taoist priest Littlein. Mr. Clairvoyant, please don't call me senior, I'm only 19 years old. I've actually lived in the mortal world for over 18 years already, and I only recently went to the celestial court to study. Everyone in the group was astonished to hear this. Enlightened Lazarite. This is the first time I've heard of a mortal cultivator who went to the celestial court to study. Crackshot clairvoyant. And who would have thought that Mr. Enlin would be so young? He's truly a heroic youth. Those who could become immortal ambassadors were all extremely powerful cultivators. Many of the students from Xiaoxian United University didn't even have the chance to descend to the mortal world even once after they graduated. From this, one could see just how high the requirement for strength was. If one were to ask why these students who couldn't descend to the mortal world still wanted to study mortal studies, wouldn't that be an unnecessary waste of time? Enlin felt like this question could be explained by the education system of the Hua nation. Many students had studied English for over 10 years, but how many opportunities did they have to interact with foreigners? It was mostly just Hua nation people talking to each other in English, or watching foreign language movies, or doing English tests. After all, there were only a few people who could truly put English to use. Dreamy voice fairy. Then where did Mr. Enlin study before he went to the celestial court? Everyone in the group was also waiting curiously for Enlin's reply. To be able to produce such a prodigy, the sect he came from must be extremely powerful. Moreover, this was a major event for the entire mortal world of cultivators. Enlin looked at the message and scratched his head in exasperation. Where did he study before he came to the celestial court? Professor Chen from Huaqin University? Or do I have to tell them all the teachers from kindergarten all the way to university? Clearly, this wasn't what they were asking about. Thus, Enlin could only answer honestly. Fake Taoist priest Littlein. Before I went to the celestial court, I hadn't even started cultivating. Haha, now that I think about it, I've only been cultivating for about half a year. Enlin was actually quite embarrassed to say this. For someone like him who had only been cultivating for half a year to be respected by so many cultivators, even with his thick skin, he still couldn't take it. However, no one paid attention to his exclamation. Everyone stared at the word, half a year. Golden Jade. If I may be so bold as to ask, what is Mr. Enlin's current cultivation base? Fake Taoist priest Littlein. Not very high, only 9th stage Tao body. Golden Jade almost spat out a mouthful of blood onto the computer after hearing this. Not high F** king cultivation base. The group, which was bustling with activity a moment ago, suddenly became silent. All the cultivators stared blankly at the words, half a year, and 9th stage Tao body in the chat. Tian Lingling flung her phone away and asked excitedly to Su Xiaolan, Big Sister Lanlan, let me ask you a question. What was Enlin's cultivation base when he came to the celestial court, and what is his current cultivation base? Su Xiaolan smiled. When he came, he was at the 0th stage Tao body. Now, he's already at the 9th stage Tao body. He's the #1 celebrity of our Xiaoxian United University, don't look down on him. Enlin shook his head. The main character is right here, but Tian Lingling is actually asking Su Xiaolan? Could it be that his words were so unconvincing? In contrast to Enlin's exasperation, Tian Lingling was completely dumbstruck. She had cultivated for more than 10 years and had reached the 8th stage Tao body, far surpassing her peers. This made her extremely confident in her aptitude. However, Enlin had only cultivated for half a year and reached the 9th stage Tao body? Tears welled up in Tian Lingling's eyes. and Lin had completely destroyed all of her pride. After a long while, she trembled as she typed a message into her phone. Tian Lingling. Fellow cultivators, I just asked another immortal ambassador. From her, I found out that Lin was right. He did indeed cultivate for half a year and advanced from the Zeroth stage Tao body to the 9th stage. Tian Lingling's words were like a bomb falling into a calm lake. The cultivators who had fallen silent after being frightened by Lin instantly exploded. Chapter 57. Crackshot Clairvoyant. Holy F***ck. It only took him half a year to go from 0 stage Tao body to 9 stage Tao body? Are we really playing the same cultivation game? Atomic Bomb Fairy. My outlook on life, cultivation, and the world has been severely impacted. I feel terrible. Calm Celestial Maiden, Big Sister, save me, I need psychological counseling. Celestial Maiden Anexion. Little Sister Atomic Bomb, Big Sister Calm has already vomited blood and fainted after seeing this message. Atomic Bomb Fairy. Taoist Wooden Ox. Enlightened Lazarite. I feel like I'm playing an online game. After working my heart out to level 80, Mr. Lin is smiling at me with a level 99 dragon-slaying saber in his hand. Dreamy Voice Fairy. Hee hee, luckily I'm quick to react. I just ate 99 heart-calming pills without any hesitation. I'm feeling much better now. Taoist Red WRM. I feel like a salted fish. Several dozen cultivators in the group all expressed their F***ket-up feelings in the chat group, causing Lin's face to convulse. Tian Lingling couldn't help but feel a lot better after seeing all the cultivators in the group vomit blood. Sure enough, it's better to be happy together than to be happy alone. Apart from a few cultivators whose Tao hearts were damaged, this incident was quickly resolved. On the way to the ball, Lin also saw Lin Wuhua and Gao Peng. However, it was all over, so he wasn't going to pay attention to those two. Not long after, the ball concluded, and Lin and the others returned to the Crown Plaza Hotel to rest. Tian Lingling also tagged along this time. She stayed in the room next to Lin and the others. She was the representative of the cultivators of the mortal world, and she was responsible for assisting Lin and the others in carrying out their missions. If they wanted to mobilize the power of other cultivators, she could also assist them. Of course, if they wanted to mobilize the power of some powerful old geezers, a certain amount of compensation would be required. They didn't have much to do with the Celestial Court, and they were all independent individuals. No one would be so bored as to help you do something for free. There were many cultivators in the group who had a high level of awareness about slaying demons and devils. They were willing to help. It was just that, firstly, their cultivations were unequal, and secondly, their mobilization was completely based on their individual awareness. There was no guarantee of their numbers and strength. Lin thought about it and decided not to gather these forces for now. In terms of the difficulty of the mission, their team had no problem at all. In his room, he had already downloaded 1,000 Japanese romance and martial arts films. After the audit was completed, he lay on the bed, exhausted. Sigh, there are really all kinds of purchasing agents. There are even people who purchase love martial arts films. Lin had a helpless look on his face. Looking at the shopping list in his hand, he suddenly realized how difficult it was to earn money. Some people might ask why he didn't just buy it online. In fact, this was all because of things like clothes. The seniors had a great deal of distrust towards the buyer's show. Therefore, he specified that Lin should go to a physical store to buy it, and he also had very high requirements for the color and material of the clothes. For things like technological products and jewelry, there were easily hundreds or even thousands of items. If he chose to buy it online, Lin wouldn't have to do anything all day. All he had to do was collect the deliveries, and he would be exhausted from all the running. He might as well go to a physical store and buy it all in one day. Ding dong! A new message notification suddenly appeared on his phone. Lin unlocked his phone and found that Tian Lingling had sent him a WeChat message. Tian Lingling. Fake Taoist priest, are you free tomorrow? Come catch a ghost with me. Lin, catch a ghost? What the hell? He remembered that he had to go shopping tomorrow, so he immediately replied, I'm not free, I still have to buy clothes tomorrow. Tian Lingling. How much time does buying clothes take? I'll go shopping with you, and after that, come catch a ghost with me. Lin chuckled lightly. Are you sure? Tian Lingling. I'm sure. Lin didn't say anything. Instead, he took a picture of the list of clothes he wanted to buy and sent it to Tian Lingling. Tian Lingling fell silent as she stared at the list that stretched out like a massive, winding dragon. Tian Lingling, how about this, leave the clothes shopping to me? You know the Tianyu Corporation, right? My dad is the chairman of that corporation. I'll ask him to get someone to buy it for me, and I guarantee that it'll be ready in 2 days. Come catch a ghost with me first. Tianyu Corporation? Lin's heart jolted upon hearing this. That was one of the top 500 corporations in the world. It was a massive corporation, and its businesses included films, music, fashion, magazines, clothing, and other industries. It was undoubtedly a giant in the entertainment industry. With Tian Lingling's backing, it really wouldn't be a problem to leave the clothes shopping to her. He was just about to agree to Tian Lingling's request when he thought about it and picked up his phone again to take pictures of the other items on the list. Snacks for you two and the other students, some figurines, and some other handmade products. After taking pictures of the list, Lin sent it to Tian Lingling. Fake Taoist priest Littlin. Help me take care of these items as well, and I'll catch a ghost with you. Pictures after pictures popped up one after another, and a series of items appeared before her eyes. There were all kinds of items, all kinds of weird requests, and it was as if they were mocking her. Tian Lingling's eyes widened as she gripped her phone. After a long time, she took a deep breath, placed her hand on her phone, and typed these words with difficulty. Tian Lingling. All right. Leave it all to me. Lin looked at Tian Lingling's reply and replied with an elated good night, before putting down his phone. I'm so smart. It feels so good to get rid of all this trouble. Lin murmured to himself with a smug expression before closing his eyes in contentment. He felt like he was going to have a very good sleep tonight. In the next room, Tian Lingling sat cross-legged on her bed. She grimaced in anger as she looked at the list of items Lin had sent over, but in the end she could only spit out resentfully. He really doesn't know how to take advantage of others. I'm definitely going to take advantage of him next time. If it wasn't for the fact that Uncle Lin had something to do at the last minute and couldn't find the time, who would be willing to team up with Lin who always pissed her off? Tian Lingling's petite face was full of grievance. She lay on the bed listlessly like a salted fish. She felt like she was going to have a very bad sleep tonight. The moon set and the sun rose. Soon, it was the morning of the next day. Knock, knock, knock. Tian Lingling knocked on the door right on time. Lin opened the door and saw Tian Lingling dressed in pink sportswear. She was petite, adorable, and full of energy. Good morning, fake Taoist priest. Tian Lingling greeted as soon as she entered the room. Good morning, little lowly. Lin didn't back down and immediately replied. Tian Lingling felt another wave of anger when she heard this. She felt like she couldn't take advantage of Lin at all. She handed a document to Lin. On it was written some information on the ghost-catching mission. Lin flipped through these documents and gained a basic understanding of the case. Recently, a few strange death cases had occurred in Huangshi village of Rong City. In these cases, the deceased all had dark skin and their eyeballs had been gouged out, leaving behind only a bloody hole. Moreover, their expressions were fearful and sinister. It was clear that they had been frightened by something. 11 people had died in these cases. The head of the Provincial Public Security Department, Zhou Jing, had personally taken charge of investigating these cases. However, he hadn't made any progress. Instead, he discovered some things that didn't make sense. For example, strange noises could be heard at night in Huangshi village. For example, the air was often filled with an unexplainable black gas, causing the villagers to be on tenterhooks. Zhou Jing had come into contact with these kinds of cases before. He knew that these things were probably not something he could handle. Thus, he reported it to the central government. The National Special Operations Department couldn't spare any manpower to handle it. Thus, he requested the cooperation of the Hua Nation cultivators. Taoist priest Lin Yi and Tian Lingling of Mount Longhu accepted the request. Unexpectedly, something happened in Tibet recently. Taoist priest Lin Yi was temporarily unable to find the time, and this matter couldn't be delayed. Just like that, after many twists and turns, it became the team of Tian Lingling and Lin. Looking at the report, the preliminary assessment was that this incident could have been caused by a soldier-level ghost or a general-level ghost. In other words, the enemy could be between the 5th stage Tao body to the 10th stage Tao body. To Lin, this was still within the scope of what he could handle. Thus, he put away the documents and smiled at Tian Lingling. Let's go, we're going to Huangshi village. Chapter 58. Huangshi village was a small village that was relatively remote from Rong City. It was located in the middle of a mountain stream, and there was only one narrow road leading in and out of the village. There were only a few hundred villagers. Ever since the recent strange murders, the people in the village were now in a state of panic. Even though the relevant government departments had already blocked the news, how could the sudden deaths of more than 10 people be kept a secret from the people in the village? There were even many people who had witnessed the tragic deaths of the villagers with their own eyes, and they couldn't even sleep well. The government had adopted a series of comforting policies, but it didn't have much of an effect. Panic still spread through the village, and some villagers were even so scared that they fled the village. The road into the village was too narrow, and cars couldn't enter. At the entrance of the village, Lin and Tian Lingling got out of the car and started walking. They followed a clear stream, and after walking for a kilometer, they finally saw a few houses. Just from the environment alone, the village was backed by green mountains and surrounded by clear water. The scenery was extremely pleasant, and anyone who stayed here would feel at ease. However, after the murders, the faces of the villagers were all shrouded in a layer of gloom, and even the atmosphere in the village became oppressive and heavy. Village Chief Wang Dong was in charge of receiving Lin and Tian Lingling. The head of the Provincial Public Security Department, Zhou Jing, had already greeted Wang Dong. Wang Dong knew that the two people who had just arrived were the special personnel assigned to handle the murders in this village. Thus, he personally went to greet them, not daring to be negligent. Wang Dong was a middle-aged man in his 50s, but his body was still somewhat robust. He stood guard at the entrance of the village, and when he saw that the special personnel were a relatively young-looking man and a petite and adorable girl, he couldn't help but frown. What's going on? Why did the Public Security Department send two seemingly powerless youngsters to handle such a major murder case? Although Wang Dong was puzzled and dissatisfied, he still dutifully greeted the two people. When Lin saw Wang Dong, he didn't waste any words, and directly requested to go to the location of the murders to investigate. There were a total of 3 locations, and all of them were families. Every family died the same way. Their eyes were missing, and their vital energy dissipated. When Lin and Tian Lingling arrived at the courtyard, it was already surrounded by a police cordon. They crossed the cordon and entered. They immediately felt a chill that made their hair stand on end. Every place where the accident happened is very strange. If I didn't have to bring you here, I would have stayed as far away as possible. Wang Dong's well-built body also felt a chill as he shrunk back and said. Lin and Tian Lingling looked at each other, and they both saw a hint of surprise in each other's eyes. They walked around the yard and returned to the door. Lin, Village Chief Wang, please take us to another location. Wang Dong's eyes widened. That's it. Didn't ordinary police detectives search for clues inch by inch, ask all kinds of questions, and then slowly and carefully deduce the case? The two of them, on the other hand, strolled around the courtyard as if they were on a vacation. They didn't say anything, and in less than 5 minutes, they proposed to go somewhere else. Are they really here to solve the case and not to visit? Seeing Enlin and Tian Lingling nod seriously, Wang Dong could only hide his complaints in his heart and lead them to another location with a dark expression. When they arrived at the next location, Enlin and the others finished looking around in only 5 minutes. Wang Dong expressionlessly led them to the third location. Just like that, in less than half an hour, Wang Dong took them to visit the 3 locations. Village Chief Wang, we're done looking around. We'll stay at your house for a while, and we'll go check out the locations at night, Enlin said to Wang Dong with a smile. Wang Dong. When they arrived at Wang Dong's house, his wife had already prepared a sumptuous meal for Enlin and the others. Enlin and Tian Lingling ate heartily, and they were full of praise for the authentic farmhouse dishes. Lingling, this chicken is so fragrant. You only need to dip it in some ginger salt, and you'll be able to taste the rich and mellow taste of chicken. Fake Taoist priest, this water spinach is also very delicious. I've never tasted such fragrant and delicious vegetables in the city before. It's all green and pollution-free. Auntie, can you cook an extra plate of water spinach? Wang Dong's face convulsed as he heard their conversation. He felt like he had brought a bunch of fake police officers to solve a case. What the f***ck? Did these two come to his house to freeload? If it weren't for the fact that they both showed their identification cards, Wang Dong would have chased them out long ago. Village Chief Wang's wife, on the other hand, smiled happily. She was very happy that the police officers approved of her dishes. Before they knew it, night had already fallen. Enlin and Tian Lingling walked out of Village Chief Wang's house again. This time, they didn't let Village Chief Wang follow them. There were very few street lights on the village roads, and they walked along the dim path, surveying their surroundings cautiously. That cold and sinister aura is a characteristic of the evil spirit's attacks. It lingered at the scene of the accident for a long time, so it's clear that the evil spirit has already reached the general rank, Tian Lingling suddenly said. One cold and sinister aura is ferocious and ruthless, while the other aura is obscure and fatal. There are 2 general rank evil spirits, Enlin added. Hearing this, a hint of worry appeared on Tian Lingling's delicate face. Judging from the location of the crime, the evil spirit's attacks are random, she said. Our patrol area will probably have to cover the entire Huangshi village. Enlin continued, I heard that strange noises can be heard at night. We can use that as a breakthrough point. Due to the murders in Huangshi village, the villagers didn't dare to go out at night. The small path in the village was completely silent, and the only sound that could be heard was Enlin and Tian Lingling's footstep. Their feet made a sha-sha sound as they stepped on the ground, and it was especially clear. A chilly wind suddenly blew over. Tian Lingling shivered, and she couldn't help but tug on the corner of Enlin's shirt. Enlin noticed her movements, and he looked at her with a strange expression. Are you cold? He asked. Tian Lingling's pretty face blushed slightly, and she nodded her head, her voice as soft as a mosquito's. Enlin shrugged. But I'm only wearing one shirt right now, so don't expect me to take off a jacket for you to wear like in the TV dramas. Tian Lingling rolled her eyes. I don't care about your jacket. Even if you do have one, I won't wear it. Enlin ignored her and continued walking forward. Tian Lingling was so frightened that she hurriedly followed after him. The darkness of the night shrouded Enlin in a dark shadow. Tian Lingling felt that the surrounding environment was a bit creepy, something that couldn't be experienced during the day. She couldn't help but continue to talk, because only by talking could she alleviate some of her fear. Fake Taoist priest, do you think we can beat 2 general-rank evil spirits? Tian Lingling asked. The man in front of her replied slowly, We can't beat them. Hearing this, Tian Lingling was startled. Why, didn't you say that you're a powerful cultivator on the immortal rankings board and that taking care of general rank evil spirits was a piece of cake? A bone-chilling wind blew over, and the surrounding leaves rustled in the wind. Because, Unlin slowly turned around and stared at Tian Lingling. His eyes bulged, and he stuck out his tongue. I already dead. What? Tian Lingling sat down on the ground and yelled. She had been scared to tears. Chapter 59. Unlin was slightly taken aback as he looked at Tian Lingling, who was sitting on the ground and crying. Oi, I was just joking, why are you so easily scared? You still dare to accept a ghost hunting mission with this kind of mental fortitude? He asked in astonishment. Tian Lingling raised her head and saw that Unlin was fine. A resentful expression appeared on her tear-stained face, and she threw herself into his arms and hammered his chest with her little fists. Wah, big jerk, how can you bully me like this? Tian Lingling cried and beat him. She sobered up and wiped her snot on Unlin's shirt before continuing to beat and scold him. Unlin grimaced, and he really wanted to say, You're using my shirt to make snot paper, isn't that bullying? However, he managed to restrain himself in the end. After all, he was in the wrong in the first place and had gone a little too far with the joke. Just as Tian Lingling was venting, Unlin seemed to hear the sound of crying coming from another direction. What? He patted Tian Lingling's back and said, Listen, there seems to be a ghost crying with you from another direction. Tian Lingling's petite body trembled slightly, and she immediately came to a realization. Big jerk, you're lying to me again. Unlin. As the sound of crying became louder and louder, Tian Lingling finally sensed that something was wrong. Her hair stood on end, and she looked fearfully toward the direction of the crying. Oi, you're saying that there's really a ghost in that direction? Why is it crying with me? Her voice was trembling as she asked. Unlin was exasperated. How would I know? Ask it if you're so capable. Tian Lingling recoiled upon hearing this, and her fear and horror were written all over her face. Unlin sighed softly. If he hadn't come on this mission, perhaps Tian Lingling wouldn't even have been able to see the ghost and would have been scared away by it. He walked toward the direction of the strange sound, and Tian Lingling followed closely behind him, holding a yellow talisman in her hand. The sound of crying became louder and louder, and finally, it seemed to be lingering in their ears. They looked left and right but did not find any suspicious traces. Where is it? Suddenly, Unlin felt a chill envelop his entire body. Are you looking for me? A hoarse voice was heard. Then, a white-clothed figure suddenly hung upside down in front of Unlin. She had no nose or mouth. Her two eyeballs were connected by a foot-long piece of red flesh. They dangled outside and stared at Unlin. Holy sh*t. Unlin was startled, and without hesitation, he unleashed a mountain-quaking fist. Rumble! The golden fist enveloped the white-robed figure and exploded with astonishing energy. Aha! The white-robed evil spirit was caught off guard and was sent flying more than 10 meters away by the golden fist. He fell to the ground, trembling. Tian Lingling didn't even have a chance to yell before the evil ghost was sent flying by a single punch. Her gaping mouth was unable to open, and she could only stammer. So powerful, Unlin ignored Tian Lingling. Instead, he curiously ran toward the evil ghost. His mountain-quaking fist was very powerful. Even a general-level evil spirit would be crippled on the ground after taking a direct hit from it. Its body has become semi-transparent. Is it about to die? Unlin walked toward the evil ghost and asked curiously. That's right. Hurry up and use that immortal spell again to finish it off. Tian Lingling hid behind Unlin and looked at the evil ghost on the ground fearfully. There's no rush. This is the first time I've seen a ghost in my entire life. I have to study it carefully. Unlin was excited and looked at the evil ghost on the ground with malicious intent. The white-robed evil ghost's eyes widened when it heard this. Oh, its eyes had always been wide open, and this expression had never changed. However, its eyes, which were connected by flesh and blood, suddenly flew toward Enlin. Holy sh*t. It can still move. Half of the mountain quaking fist. Enlin was greatly alarmed upon seeing this, and he unleashed another mountain quaking fist. Boom! The ground caved in from the fist, and the evil ghost's body was flattened. Wah! The white-robed evil ghost screamed hoarsely, and its body became even more transparent. Enlin picked up a branch and poked at the evil ghost's long eyes. Like a coiled snake, he rolled up the eyes and the flesh and blood that spurted out. Yuck, so disgusting! Tian Lingling couldn't bear to watch any more. How magical! This transparent body feels so real when I poked it with a branch, Enlin exclaimed. The white-robed evil ghost's body was limp and weak. Its eyes widened. Wah, huh? It doesn't have a mouth, so how can it make sounds? Enlin was curious. Then, he poked at the evil ghost's mouth with the branch. It was white. The branch was poked there, but it caved in like a balloon. Hee, interesting. Enlin was amused. He didn't expect ghosts to be so magical. Wah! The white-robed evil ghost screamed weakly. Enlin shook his head in disappointment. Why is there only one line? Can't you say something else? Then, he shifted his gaze to the evil ghost's bulging chest and poked at it with the branch curiously. Is this real? Sob, sob, sob. The white-clothed evil ghost's round eyes were filled with sparkling tears. Why are you so perverted? Tian Lingling screamed at Enlin's actions. She raised her hand and threw out an evil warding talisman. Boom! A golden pillar of light fell from the sky and struck the white-robed evil ghost's body. It was the last straw that broke the camel's back. The white-robed evil ghost's body dissipated in the golden pillar of light. Its cries drifted away with the wind and finally disappeared into the horizon. Why did you kill it? Enlin looked at the young girl behind him with dissatisfaction. When it's time to fight, you're like a little squirrel. When it's time to be gentle, you're like a tigress. Tian Lingling's face was as red as a ripe apple. But you wanted to be a pervert just then. I can't let you commit a crime. Enlin's lips twitched. So, researching evil ghosts turned her into a pervert? What did she think of? Just as he was lamenting over the fact that he didn't have a research subject, he suddenly raised his eyebrows and punched behind him. Boom! A distorted black figure was knocked back and then disappeared into the darkness. 5 streaks of black mist rushed toward Enlin and the others with mournful cries. Tian Lingling pulled out a talisman and threw it toward the mist. The talisman glowed brightly and condensed into 6 golden sword projections, which transformed into streaks of light that slashed toward the black mist. The golden sword radiance seemed to have a strong restraining effect on the black mist. Once it struck the black mist, it was like water meeting raging fire, instantly dissipating into nothingness. After dispersing the mist, the last golden sword projection shot toward the distorted figure that had just attacked Enlin and disappeared into the darkness. Enlin's eyes lit up. He ran toward the last golden sword projection and yelled, "Hurry up! Don't let it get away. I'm going to capture it alive this time and do some research on it." In the darkness, the distorted figure heard these words and ran even faster. Chapter 60. Where do you think you're going, monster? Enlin burst forth with astonishing speed and punched toward the general-level evil spirit that had just knocked the golden sword projection away. Unexpectedly, the evil spirit's body was extremely nimble, and like a mudfish, it twisted to an angle and evaded his punch. The evil spirit's body was pitch black and viscous, and under the night sky, it looked like a piece of black cloth fluttering in the wind. As soon as Enlin approached it, he felt an extremely strong negative emotion. It was a kind of mental energy that was released from a mixture of chaos, fear, pain, and despair. Shrill cries filled the air. Not only was it ear-piercing, but it also seemed to resonate with the mind, giving rise to all kinds of negative emotions. The evil spirit's body suddenly twisted violently, and immediately afterward, 10 pitch-black ghostly claws began to extend, tearing toward Unlin's body. Mountain quaking fist. Unlin smashed his fist forward, and a golden fist of 10 feet surged forth with vast power. The pitch-black ghostly claws were shattered by the mountain quaking fist, and the fist continued to advance. The evil spirit took advantage of the pause in the fist to twist its body again, evading the powerful attack, and then continued to flee. Tian Lingling, is there any way to restrain this evil spirit? Unlin shouted to the young girl behind him. Without needing Unlin's reminder, she already had a talisman between her fingers, and she looked at the fleeing evil spirit and muttered something. 4 spirit soul-locking chains, activate. In an instant, the talisman glowed brightly, and 4 golden chains coiled toward the evil spirit like spirit snakes. Even though this general-level evil spirit was nimble, it was still unable to evade the golden chains' pursuit. The 4 chains instantly bound its body. The soul-locking chains won't last long, hurry up. Tian Lingling saw that the talisman in her hand was starting to spontaneously combust, and she couldn't help but say urgently. The evil spirit let out an even more shrill cry, and energy began to erupt from its body in an attempt to break free. However, before it could break free from the chains, a gigantic golden fist came flying toward it. Boom! Pure energy exploded, and the evil spirit's body exploded. A black, twisted object lay on the ground, wriggling continuously. This thing was very strange, and Unlin was afraid that there would be variables if he didn't handle it well, so he didn't have the mood to continue studying it. Just like that, he launched another mountain-quaking fist at the evil spirit on the ground. Boom! The entire ground caved in from the mountain-quaking fist. The evil ghost's twisted body was also shattered by the powerful energy carried by the fist, and finally dissipated. After the 2 general-level evil spirits were eliminated, the Huangshi village case was concluded. After the 2 general-level malevolent spirits were destroyed, the case of Huangshi village was considered to have come to an end. At this moment, a bundle of snow-white spider silk appeared in the center. It appeared from the evil spirit's body after it was eliminated. However, Unlin clearly didn't notice this bundle of spider silk. You, Lin. I. Look down quickly, don't you see such a big bundle of spider silk? Right at this moment, a petite and adorable young girl ran to Unlin's side. The man in the black robe looked at the scene in front of him with excitement. The man is blind, but the girl should be able to see it. Immediately afterward, the young girl and the man started chatting happily, completely ignoring the pit. The man in the black robe felt a tightness in his chest. Are they both blind? Monsters always drop equipment. After a general-level evil spirit dies, why don't they check to see if there's anything left behind? Tian Lingling pulled out another talisman with a smile. Earth-leveling technique. Rumble, mud and rocks surged from the ground. Immediately afterward, the huge pit created by Unlin was filled up together with the snow-white spider silk. They were buried alive in the ground. Fake Taoist priest, don't forget to clean up after completing the mission. Otherwise, the villagers will be scared to death when they find such a huge pit on the road. Tian Lingling raised her brows in a mature manner. Unlin didn't retort. Instead, he gave her a thumbs up. Well done. The man in the black robe almost vomited blood. F***CK. You only remember to clean up after cleaning up, but you don't remember to pick up equipment. No. I finally lured out a cultivator from the cultivation world. I can't fail the mission just like this. It looks like if I want to salvage this situation, I, the Demon King of Wisdom, have to do it myself. The black-robed Demon King of Wisdom suppressed his aura to that of a 10th stage Dao body and started walking out slowly. Since we're done here, let's go back. Unlin patted Tian Lingling's shoulder and started to leave. Right at this moment, an angry roar suddenly sounded. Wait! If you want to escape, Have you asked the Demon King of Wisdom? Enlin and Tian Lingling turned at the same time and saw a man in a black robe with crimson eyes glaring at them angrily. There's actually an enemy! Is this the mastermind? The two of them felt the powerful aura of the Demon King of Wisdom, and their expressions became solemn. Tian Lingling held the talisman in her hand while Enlin prepared his mountain-quaking fist. Seeing the expressions of the two people in front of him, the Demon King of Wisdom was very satisfied. He slammed the ground with one hand. Boom! The ground that had just been flattened cracked open with a loud rumble. A bundle of snow-white spider silk shot out of the ground and flew into his hand. How dare you! You actually dared to kill two of my beloved generals, and even tried to use soil to hide this bundle of extremely important Snow King spider silk. The Demon King of Wisdom said angrily. Enlin and Tian Lingling looked at each other in bewilderment. So there was such a thing at the bottom of this pit, and he even hid Snow King spider silk. If he didn't tell us, we wouldn't have known at all. Is there something wrong with this Demon King of Wisdom's brain? The Demon King of Wisdom discovered that there was actually a trace of pity in the eyes of Enlin and the others. He felt a little uneasy. Could it be that he had been seen through? That didn't make sense. His acting skills were clearly so exquisite. I definitely won't let you off easily. Hand over your lives. The Demon King of Wisdom waved his hand and a huge black palm whistled toward Enlin. Enlin didn't dare to underestimate him. He immediately used his mountain-quaking fist with all his might. The golden fist broke through the huge black palm and directly smashed into the Demon King of Wisdom. Pfff-wah! The Demon King of Wisdom spat out a mouthful of black blood. The Snow King spider silk fell to the ground as he stumbled back. If it weren't for the fact that I've yet to recover from my injuries, how would I have let you guys take advantage of me? The next time we meet, I'll definitely make you wish you were dead. The Demon King of Wisdom spat out these vicious words and then fled into the distance. His speed was so fast that Enlin and the others immediately gave up on pursuing him. He ran away just like that? Enlin was a little dumbfounded. Wasn't he so arrogant just a moment ago? Why couldn't he even withstand a single mountain-quaking fist? Where was his dignity as a boss? Tian Lingling frowned slightly and said uneasily, I keep feeling that there's something wrong with that Demon King of Wisdom. Thinking of that man's extremely exaggerated expression, Enlin also nodded in agreement. Then, the two of them looked cautiously at the sparkling white spider silk on the ground within a mystic realm in the Kunlun Mountains. This place was filled with jagged rocks of strange shapes and was enshrouded in rainbow-colored mist. In the depths of the mystic realm, there was an extremely vast cave abode rich in vital energy. Here, there was a golden supreme throne, 6 thrones, and over 100 black-robed men. On the golden supreme throne, a tall figure shrouded in black mist was looking down at a red-eyed man who was half kneeling on the ground. Wisdom, how did it go? The tall figure asked in a hoarse voice. Demon Emperor, please rest assured. Although there was a small accident during the mission, with my flawless acting skills, everything went smoothly, the red-eyed man said confidently. The Demon Emperor nodded approvingly. Very good. Now, the revival of our demon race is coming. Chapter 61. After dealing with 2 general-rank evil spirits and beating back a demon king of unknown strength, the Huangshi village incident could be considered to have been preliminarily resolved. The next morning, when the villagers of Huangshi village woke up, they all felt their bodies relax. The air they breathed when they went outside seemed to have become much fresher. Village Chief Wang Dong also felt this way. He felt as if his entire body had become relaxed. The case clearly hadn't been solved yet. Why did he feel this way? For some reason, he thought of Enlin and Tian Lingling. He recalled that the young girl seemed to have referred to the man as fake Taoist priest. Weren't Taoist priests supposed to vanquish demons? Thinking back to their actions last night, Village Chief Wang couldn't help but have a guess. These cases are strange to begin with. Could it really be the work of ghosts and monsters? Were those two sent by the government to capture ghosts? Otherwise, why would they act so strangely? This guess was very absurd, but Wang Dong was unable to erase this thought from his mind. Unfortunately, Anlin and Tian Lingling had already left Huangshi village, so his guess was nothing more than a guess. Tian Lingling reported the results of the mission to the National Special Operations Department. They didn't need to worry about wrapping things up after this, as the relevant departments of the state would handle it. After returning to the hotel, Anlin called over Huang Shanshan, Su Xiaolan, and Xian Yuan Qing. The five of them gathered around a table and carefully examined a thick bundle of spider silk placed on top of the table. That's right, this bundle of spider silk is indeed the Snow King spider silk. It can attach itself to ghosts and absorb the vitality of humans through ghosts, Huang Shanshan said with certainty as she fiddled with the spider silk. The Snow King spider silk is unique to the Demon King Hundred-Eyed Spider. It's a huge monster that has been wanted by our cultivation world for a long time. And this time, apart from reinforcing the seal of the Demon Sealing Tower, we also have a mission to annihilate the Demon King. Then, isn't the Demon King we have to annihilate this Hundred-Eyed Spider? Tian Lingling's eyes lit up as she spoke. The Hundred-Eyed Spider is a monster king that often appears near the Demon Sealing Tower. It has been eyeing the tower for a long time, but because of its elusiveness, it is difficult for us cultivators to kill it. Now that we have this bundle of spider silk, we can track the location of the Hundred-Eyed Spider through its aura, Huang Shanshan said with some excitement. Xian Yuan Cheng looked at the spider silk on the table with a doubtful expression. If that's the case, then the Demon King of Wisdom who suddenly appeared is in cahoots with the Hundred-Eyed Spider? His appearance was strange. If it weren't for him, Anlin probably wouldn't even be able to see the face of this spider silk. I feel that this Demon King wants to borrow our hands to get rid of this Hundred-Eyed Spider. At this moment Su Xiaolan also added, or else this is a trap. He wants to lure us to the Hundred-Eyed Spider's side, and then use this opportunity to get rid of us. Anlin thought of the Demon King of Wisdom's slightly exaggerated expression and nodded in agreement. There is indeed a problem here. Our identities as immortal ambassadors haven't been exposed. If that Demon King is setting up a trap, then it should be targeting the cultivators of our country. The Demon King of Wisdom never would have thought that his acting would attract so much suspicion. It looked like he would definitely win the Golden Raspberry Award in the entertainment industry. Thus, after a round of discussion, everyone reached a consensus. Although capturing the Demon King Hundred-Eyed Spider was dangerous, it was also a rare opportunity. They couldn't let go of this opportunity. Thus, in order to ensure their safety, they decided to seek outside help. Just like that, Anlin once again opened the All the Cultivators of the World Unite to Protect Earth group chat. Fake Taoist Priest Littlein. Hello everyone. Taoist Wooden Ox. Haha, Taoist N, long time no see. Anlin's mouth twitched when he saw this. How long? It's clearly only been 2 days. Only someone like Taoist Wooden Ox, who would feel uncomfortable if he didn't chat every day, would feel that it had been a long time. Enlightened Lazarite, Taoist N, why did you come to the group chat? Why don't you say it out loud? Anlin liked this type of person who was so open-minded and easy to talk to. Fake Taoist Priest Littlein. Haha, there is actually something that I need everyone's help with. It's related to the mission I'm carrying out this time. Dreamy Voice Fairy. Tell us, Taoist N, what kind of trouble have you encountered? After Dreamy Voice Fairy spoke, a few more cultivators appeared in the group chat. It was clear that they were all quite interested in what Anlin was going to say next. Anlin breathed a sigh of relief when he saw the reactions in the group chat. It looked like the seniors in this group were all quite enthusiastic. Thus, he announced the mission of encircling and annihilating the Hundred-Eyed Spider King Demon in the group chat. He also explained in detail what had happened in Yellow Creek Village. As for the risks involved in carrying out this mission, he could only let the cultivators in the group judge for themselves. Fake Taoist priest Littleton, that's about it. I definitely can't let the seniors help me for nothing. I'll use spirit stones as a reward for all the seniors who participate in this mission. And Lin had learned from Tian Lingling that spirit stones were an extremely valuable currency in the cultivation world on Earth. Even for some of the more advanced cultivators, spirit stones were extremely tempting. After all, he was the team leader for this mission. He was still aware that he had to rely on his own strength to recruit people. Sure enough, as soon as spirit stones were mentioned, many cultivators in the group chat popped up. The atmosphere instantly became lively. Golden Jade, Taoist, and what ranks of cultivators do you need to recruit? Exterminating the Demon King wasn't something that any cultivator could participate in, especially when there were hidden dangers involved. Fake Taoist priest Littleton. I need 10 cultivators of the 10th stage Tao body and as many spirit-nurturing stage seniors as come. As for spirit stones, I'm not too sure about the reward. Seniors, please name a price. Lin rubbed his storage ring guiltily. There were only 30,000 spirit stones in there, so it should be no problem, right? Tian Lingling had told him that there were only 8 spirit-nurturing stage seniors in the group chat. All of them were sect leaders or elders of various large immortal sects and were usually very busy. Thus, Lin was able to say that he would take as many spirit-nurturing stage seniors as he could. In contrast to Lin's nervousness, Xianyuan Cheng and Su Xiaolan were sitting off to the side, munching on sunflower seeds as they waited for news. He suddenly felt a bit regretful. Sigh, it's so hard being a team leader. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have flexed like this. Instead, he would have gathered spirit stones with these 2 tycoons. Hearing that Lin wanted them to name a price, the group chat became even livelier. Crackshot Clairvoyant, Taoist, and I'm of the 10th stage Tao body. I'll follow you for 50 spirit stones. Lin was slightly taken aback when he saw this message. It's so cheap to hire a cultivator of the 10th stage Tao body? 50 spirit stones? A friendship price? Right at this moment, enlightened Lazarite spoke. No. Lin saw this and thought to himself, sure enough, there's someone objecting. Such a cheap price would arouse the dissatisfaction of other cultivators. How would other cultivators bid then? Enlightened Lazarite continued. Clairvoyant, you're screwing Taoist and over. The reward for a cultivator of the 10th stage Tao body can only be 20 spirit stones, no more. Atomic Bomb Fairy chimed in. That's right, Clairvoyant, you've gone crazy thinking about spirit stones. Dreamy Voice Fairy. 50 spirit stones, why don't you just rob someone? Have you experienced Taoist Anne's feelings? Lin was dumbstruck by this development. WTF? Have any of you ever experienced my feelings? I'm feeling blissful. Crackshot Clairvoyant. Sorry, Taoist Anne, I was too greedy. 20 spirit stones is enough. I want to sign up. Lin really wanted to say, you actually don't need to apologize. Right at this moment, the savior, who hadn't spoken for a long time, also spoke. I'm a cultivator of the spirit-nurturing stage. I only need 100 spirit stones to go with Taoist and Lin and test out the new weapon I stole. Lin's eyes widened in disbelief. Holy F***CK. 100 spirit stones is enough to hire a cultivator of the spirit-nurturing stage? Green River Sword Immortal. 100 spirit stones too, count me in. Lin. Just like that, Lin, who originally thought he would have to spend a fortune, only spent 500 spirit stones and successfully recruited 3 cultivators of the spirit-nurturing stage and 10 cultivators of the 10th stage Tao body. He raised his head to look at the sky, his emotions extremely complex. What's wrong with this world? Is it because I have too much money, or are the cultivators of this world too poor? Chapter 62. With such a cheap appearance fee, Lin couldn't help but want to recruit more cultivators of the 10th stage Tao body. After all, there was strength in numbers, wasn't there? However, he gave up on this idea in the end. 10 cultivators of the 10th stage Tao body and 3 cultivators of the spirit nurturing stage. This lineup was already strong enough. If the enemy was only a 100-eyed spider, then they would be able to easily beat it up. This lineup was more than enough to deal with unknown dangers. As long as an Emperor-level monster didn't appear, they would be able to escape even if they couldn't defeat it. If an Emperor-level monster appeared, then it didn't matter how many cultivators of the 10th stage Tao body they had. Unlin gave the reinforcements 2 days to prepare. 2 days later, they would gather at Rong City, then head to the Kunlun Mountains together. Tian Lingling, Su Xiaolan, and the others were very satisfied with the results of the recruitment. Then, they left to do their own things. Soon, another day passed. The next day, Tian Lingling carried a few large boxes to Enlin's room. Enlin was struck by a sense of bewilderment at the sight of this petite figure carrying a box that was even larger than his own body. Inside the boxes Tian Lingling carried were the items that Enlin had asked her to purchase. There were several hundred items of various sizes. Enlin checked them one by one and didn't miss anything. Thus, he happily gave Tian Lingling 10 spirit stones as an extra tip for this shopping trip. When he saw Tian Lingling rolling around on the bed with 10 spirit stones in her arms, a look of bliss on her face, he couldn't help but fall into deep thought again. Could it be that the cultivators on Earth were really this poor? Enlin put all the items into his storage ring, then walked to the French windows and opened the curtains. The sky was filled with dark clouds, and it was extremely dark as far as the eye could see. Among the thick layers of clouds, the dull sound of thunder could be heard. It's thundering, it's raining, looks like we can only stay in the hotel. Tian Lingling lay on the bed, swinging her fair and well-proportioned legs as she spoke in a sweet voice. As Enlin gazed at the scenery in the sky and heard the girl behind him talking about thunder, a thought suddenly occurred to him. This thought was extremely strong, and it made him make a very risky decision. On top of the building, the wind was howling and heavy rain was about to fall. Xianyuan Qing, Su Xiaolan, and Tian Lingling were all looking at the man up ahead with concerned expressions. Xianyuan Qing said seriously, "Enlin, this is a very risky decision. I advise you to reconsider." Su Xiaolan's face was full of worry as she shouted, "Enlin, why are you doing this? Can you play with your life like this? Listen to me, let's go back." Tian Lingling was extremely excited. "Fake Taoist priest, do you have more spirit stones? How about we divide the inheritance first? Since we've known each other for a while, how about giving me 10 more spirit stones?" Xiao Hong, who was lying on Su Xiaolan's shoulder, cried loudly, "Why, Master, if you die, I won't be able to live either. Why are you dragging me down with you?" Little Red had long since left Enlin's pocket. What a joke! If it didn't leave, it would die even if Enlin didn't die. In response to everyone's words, Enlin turned around and smiled faintly. Then, he continued to fly his kite, leaving them with a confident and carefree view of his back. Lightning flashed from time to time in the thick black clouds, and the wind blew the kite higher and higher. Enlin continued to release the string, and the kite began to soar upwards. At this moment, he felt a sense of heroism fill his chest. In ancient times, there was Franklin's kite that caught lightning. Today, there was Enlin's kite that attracted lightning to strike him. That's right, Enlin had shown off enough, and now he was planning to get struck by lightning. Now that he had the Stage 1 Earth Lotus Supreme skill and the Divine Might technique, he only needed to learn one more cultivation method, and he would be able to advance to the 10th stage Tao body. Stage 1 Thunder Essence Cultivation Method. Condition: be struck by natural lightning formed between heaven and earth once. 10th stage Tao body. Condition: learn 3 different system type cultivation method. As long as he was struck by lightning once, he would be able to complete these 2 missions at the same time. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone, so why not? The only problem was whether or not he could survive the heavenly thunder. His three clueless friends stared at Enlin's actions in fear. If it wasn't for the fact that Enlin had requested them to prepare a healing spell formation, they would have thought that Enlin had gone mad. No, even so, they still thought that Enlin had gone mad. If Franklin saw this scene, he would also think that Enlin had gone mad. This wasn't sacrificing himself for science, this was courting death. The kite was made from a special metal, and the string was also made of metal. The end of the string was wrapped around Enlin's hand. As long as the lightning struck the kite, the electricity would be transmitted to his body through the metal string. He raised his head to look at the sky. The terrifying power of the lightning was accumulating in the clouds, and it sent shivers down his spine. It was impossible to describe what kind of feeling this was. He didn't know when he would be struck by lightning, nor did he know what would happen to him after being struck by lightning, or whether he would die. This kind of feeling could only be described as King exciting. The kite rose higher and higher, and it drew closer and closer to the clouds. A dull rumble of thunder erupted from within the clouds, and Enlin's heart rate also began to accelerate. It's coming! It's coming! It's really coming! His hands were trembling slightly. Even though he had the Earth Lotus supreme skill, and his body was much more powerful than the average cultivator, this was divine lightning. Would he be scared of hundreds of millions of volts of lightning? Even though this power wouldn't all strike Enlin, it would still be very terrifying. Just as Enlin was feeling extremely nervous, a white light flashed in the sky. He was just about to see what was going on. A terrifying power instantly swept through his entire body, and boundless pain and numbness overwhelmed him. The three onlookers only saw a flash of lightning, and Enlin was instantly blasted into the ground. The kite also began to slowly descend. Boom! At this moment, the earth-shattering boom finally began to sound. Ding-dong! Level 1 Thunder Essence Cultivation Method completed. Lightning Manipulation Technique awakened. Ding-dong! 3 different types of system cultivation methods learned. Beginning breakthrough now. Enlin's entire body was charred black, and his brain was a mess. He opened his mouth, and wisps of white smoke wafted out. Done! His eyes rolled into the back of his head as he spoke, and he fainted onto the ground with a plop. Enlin! The 3 onlookers exclaimed at the same time, and they quickly ran to his side before casting a series of healing spells onto his body. After what seemed like an eternity, Enlin slowly regained consciousness. What entered his sight was the face of a fat man who was staring at him from a close distance. The fat man was constantly picking his nose. Holy *CK! Who are you? Enlin sat up in fright as he yelled. Ha, Mr. Enlin, I'm the savior from the Protect Earth group. The fat man puffed out his big belly and chuckled. Enlin was dumbstruck upon hearing this. Holy *CK! This guy was the savior? In his mind, a badass who could go to the United States to steal advanced technology should be a tough guy like Arnold Schwarzenegger. How could it be this fat man in front of him? As if he had understood what Enlin was thinking, the fat man displayed a few ferocious punches. Don't underestimate me, I'm a nimble fatty. Enlin. After getting out of bed, Enlin found out from the savior that an entire day had passed since he was struck by lightning. Right now, most of the cultivators in the mortal world had already gathered at this hotel, and they were only waiting to set off for Kunlun Mountain the next day. Enlin inspected his own body, and he was overjoyed to feel the immense power contained within his body. He had now successfully advanced to the 10th stage Dao body. A glint appeared in his eyes. Very good, it's time to show my true strength.